You're listening to Ernestly Speaking, the only weekly podcast that covers friends, foes, and anything that goes. And now, for your badass host, Ernest Owens. And we're back with another episode of Ernestly Speaking with your host, Ernest Owens, myself. Well, we're in that seasonal mode, holiday season energy, cuffing season, all the things. Or if you're off the market, snuggle season, which is that time of the year where we start wearing heavier coats. We start keeping that temperature up, in the house. We start bundling up. You start to see me in sweatpants. Not gray sweatpants. I wear black sweatpants, but you get the drift. More sweaters, more coziness, just all of that. The weather speaks of it. We're having a real chilly fall, I must say. But I feel really good. Everyone's getting sick, except for me. Knocking on that wooden table. But everyone's getting sick. Everyone's getting the flu. Everybody's getting all kind of things. But look, I told y'all last month, vaccinations. It is not too late. If you are well, you're healthy, you're good, go get you a flu shot if you have not gotten one. Go get your booster. Of course, talk to your physician and medical advisor because I am not that. But, if you can, if you have in the past, you want to avoid the risk of getting a flu or getting any of those things, look into it. Look into it. I have to say, something told me that this season, the snivelings was coming much sooner than they normally do. But everyone I know, every time I turn around, someone's got the flu. And I didn't know this many people got the flu. I know it's flu season, but damn. Wash those hands. Use that sanitizer. Do what you got to do. But a lot of you anti-vaxxers and folks who don't believe in that stuff, y'all catching it. I can't tell you how many of my students have just was like, Professor, I gotta, and they're not even lying. Like they're really under the weather. But you gotta take care of yourself out here. You really do. This is no joke. If you're somebody who don't want to get a flu shot and stuff like that, well then make sure you keep that, butt in that beak, keep that mouth and all that stuff guarded. Face mask. I'm seeing a lot of people wear face masks again. That is something that I'm seeing being normalized in certain spaces. People are going to galas and events, and it is gala season. It is gala season. I went to 2 galas back to back this weekend. I went to a Luminary Gala that was in support of the Black Star Film Festival. Shout out to Taib Smith on being honored with a lovely award, a Luminary Award. He's such a leader. Also, shout out to Robert Townsend, who received an honor. I got the chance to meet him there. So a lot of you all saw that photo of me and him. Do you know he is 68 years old? He looked good. He is twice my age, literally. Okay? And listen, I want to have that type of energy and swagger. That man got it. But see, I was telling someone who was there, I was like, he's a millionaire. That's what money looks like, okay? See, that man is investing his wealth into his health and into his overall being. See, a lot of these rich folks, they get a lot of money, but you can't tell. They're ashy. They their nails are yellow, their teeth are yellow. Like, I just see, listen, I got a little coin, but, I ain't no crazy mega million or anything like that. But I always tell people, like, some people, when they get some money, they really do invest in their wellness. I always told myself, I was always, the more money I make, the more I was going to really invest in my wellness, to the point where, I get massages on a regular basis. I'm taking care of my skin. I'm taking care of my hair, everything. Like, I got a red cap, for those who don't know what a red cap is, but I've invested in that. It's a pricey item, but I care about my hair. Like, I don't want to lose my edges. So, I invested in a red cap not too long ago. I do the red light, for the skin, making sure, that my collagen production is on increase. I do a lot of things to just make sure, no surgery, no, I'm judging people. If you do Botox and do facelifts, that's your business, you're in, there's no judgment over here. But for me, I try the non-evasive approach, to my skincare regimen. Plus I'm 34. So I'm in the mindset that even there are people in their 20s doing Botox, which is ridiculous. Cut that out. So let me just say this. If you're in your early 30s and you're in your 20s and using Botox, stop it. Because what you really need to do is just really invest in hyaluronic acid, serums, hyaluronic acid serums. You need to sleep. Okay, rest is important. You just need to there's other things you can do. Now, when you're at a certain age, when you're past 40 and you're in your 50s, there is a case that can be made for Botox if that's something you're interested in, right? I can understand, at a certain point, your body begins to lose its level of collagen and elasticity. And if you wasn't already doing, a good skincare regimen in your 20s and 30s to maintain, that production, I can understand the need to want to use those things later in life. But 20s and 30s, absolutely not. Absolutely not. You do not need that. Filler, you do not need that. And so what I try to tell out of my friends, my age, my fellow millennials and Gen Zers, I say, listen, we don't have to do those things. We can really begin to invest in our skincare and our health by really doing non-invasive measures early, maintaining a good skincare regimen that includes a serum, a moisturizer, a good face cleanser, investing in some good facials. What else? Listen, if you're in your 30s, right, you might want to start to incorporate retinol a little bit in the skincare regimen if you're really trying to be there. I do incorporate a little bit of retinol. I'm not retinol obsessive, but look into retinol, and I do invest a little bit of retinol, so that any possibility of like extreme fine lines and things, you get a good grip on that. Again, non-invasive, I'm not talking about any surgeries. I'm not talking about anything like that. This is all things that you can do that's topical, that is a good investment in your skincare. But I tell people, sometimes the best investment in your external is what you do internally. What are you doing? How are you eating? Are you digesting properly? Are you looking into your gut health? Are you, taking care of yourself? Are you taking vitamins? Are you making sure that your supplements are together? All the things to make sure that you're internal, because that does help. Like, look, people say, oh, what are you doing for your skin? You have this glow. The glow is also a combination of joy. Like, if you are feeling really bad, if you're really down, if your internal organs and body is not fully together, I'm talking about your overall health. If you are always feeling, with low energy and just all the things, if you're not doing those things to really improve your holistic health, a lot of times you will not get that glow. This glow is a combination of, yes, a good vitamin C serum will help. But there is a natural glow and joy that does radiate the skin and your overall quality of life that is beyond just topical alone. So I want to be very clear. You cannot fake the funk overall, okay? You can only put so much makeup and so much other stuff on your skin, but you are not going to always have that radiance that you truly see in some people. Like, you all see it. You look at me, you say, you have a glow about you, have this. This is because I feel really good. Like, I really do. Like, I really do feel good. Like, I'm in a really good place in my life. It's a lot of bullshit, but there's joy in that. And there's a level of happiness. And I think that do, resonate in the skin. You ever see a good looking person and you can just feel like there's something missing? Like, they look pretty, right? But there's a spark missing. That spark, right? Whatever that glow is, that's an internal thing and it radiates. And so when you're seeing me in these pictures and you're seeing that smile and you're seeing that shine, it is not just the vitamin C serum I'm using right now. It is not just the Incredible Kills products. It's not, Wolf Project. They're great masks that I sometimes use to hydrate the skin. It's also that internal work. So really understand that wellness is not just something you can buy at the store, even though you should invest in some good products, okay? What you put in your body and what you put on your body, will also be quality. I'm all about quality, okay? This is an investment, but it's an investment into you. And why would you ever shortchange yourself? Invest in yourself, And so when I saw Robert Townsend, listen, that man is investing in himself, okay? He is taking care of that skin. That skin is supple. That black is not cracking because he's maintaining it, That hair, listen, he looked good for his age, okay? And I know y'all don't like Eric Adams. I know y'all don't like Mayor Eric Adams, and he is a problem politically. That's a good looking old head too. I ain't gonna hold you. His politics are bad. But I understand. Listen, the old heads is giving some of you young bulls a run for y'all money. You YNs better watch out. Because, listen, I gotta hold it down for the millennials. Us millennial men, we look good. A good chunk of us have, I would say we have aged really well in spite of all the bullshit we going through. Because we definitely are looking younger than a lot of these Gen Zers, these youngers. What Gen Alpha and them, they just looking, listen, I don't know what's going on. Ain't like y'all reading books and studying that hard. Let me stop. I mean, you would think with all that AI and technology that they have at their fingertips that they wouldn't be looking so stressed out and worn out. They love to go to Starbucks and get coffee. They love to get all this coffee, all these matchas. I'm like, what is all this shit for? Y'all not even studying anymore. I had to drag my students. Not drag them. I love my students. But still, I had to sometimes I tease them because they think they're slick. My class is a very anti-AI class. We know about AI. We do talk about it, but we don't really incorporate the AI because I try to create a curriculum that requires them to use their brains. And I got to say this, for all of my professors, teachers, academics out there, y'all just got to step your game up. AI can't only replace us if we are using AI to replace ourselves. Some of y'all know what I'm talking about. You using AI to create these assignments and then getting mad that these students are using AI to do the assignments. Stop being lazy. I don't really use AI. I don't. My curriculum, my programming, all the stuff that I do, that's mine. That's handmade. Okay? Couple of typos sometimes, but at least they know that I did it. That there's a reason behind each assignment. And these assignments, speak life into the others. Like there's a reason why I do what I do. There's a method to my madness, but that is human creation. And I think some of these assignments I'm looking at, these programs I'm evaluating, I'm like, that's AI. Why are you like somebody, if somebody else can do that for you through a generated system, you gotta respect the students. So my students, what I will say for the most part, they respect what I'm giving them because they know that it makes sense. There's a reason for it. If you can't explain your assignments and how it makes sense to your students, not just on we got these objectives, we got to hit these benchmarks. No. If you're not making it make sense to them in a practical way, forget about it. But we got to do that. Look at me being an educator. But that's how I feel about journalism. Stories got to matter. Your stories that you report on, the stuff that you all read, like, we got to make this stuff make sense. You just can't be out here just doing a bunch of nonsense stories. We're going to talk about that. You all want to know what a nonsense story was this week? Look at me just digressing my ass already, but listen, y'all love it. This nonsense ass story. The Philadelphia Inquirer did a story about the ACLU of Philadelphia critiquing the mayor on the mentioning of ACLU in her press conference. And we're going to talk about that press conference. We're going to talk about the mayor later on this show. But listen, I was at that press conference. I feel that the mayor was not invoking the ACLU in any type of way to suggest that they were participating. I just think, look, and I support the ACLU, okay? I do support the American civil, liberties and all the things, right? I support that. But let's be very clear. This was not that. The mayor was not, in my opinion, invoking ACLU. She was actually talking about an attorney that was supposed to be present that was a part of the whole DEI dismantling situation, that this attorney was at the firm that they used. People was asking at the press conference, where is this attorney, they said she's no longer with the firm. People were trying to figure out, what was going on, where was she? And they just simply mentioned that she left to go work for the ACLU. Like, that was it. It was a fact. And it was like, people were actually pressing to understand where that attorney was. I was at that press conference. I don't think the mayor, and I am fair, right? When the mayor is not doing what I think makes sense, I will name that, right? But in that regard, I don't think that there was a situation to which the mayor was at all trying to suggest that the ACLU was involved in this whatsoever. It's just the fact that that attorney left to go work for the ACLU. That is true. And so for the Inquirer to do this nothing burger of a story to make it seem, to spice, I just felt like it was a stupid story. I'm not saying it wasn't news. I just don't think it required the attention. I just think that's just one of those situations where you have to have discernment to recognize, okay, somebody's complaining about this, but is it legitimate enough to like amplify it? So we got to know the power of the press, and we got to know when to hold it and when to fold it. And I just not feel that particular story made sense. But that's what I mean by like making choices, right? And having discernment. And we have to do that across everything we do. So that's why I don't really incorporate AI in my teaching like that. I don't. I don't use it as a way. So when my students send me outlines and things like that, I'm telling them, look, if you want to use AI to take notes and do all that for yourself, that's your business. But when it comes to my assignments, no. But, I digress. But Robert Townsend looked really, really good. The Luminary Gala was at the Switch House. It was lovely. Shout out to Rita, a fan of this podcast who listens on a regular basis. Actually said she heard about the Luminary Gala when I mentioned it back in August, and she got her ticket. And it was so cool. She was at my table. I was on the host committee for a consecutive year, and I love supporting the Black Star Film Festival. I love being on the host committee and doing that great work. And so she was able to attend and had a really great time. So shout out to Rita. But it was a lovely event. It was so many, people in the building. Oh my goodness. It was definitely star-studded. And I made a really great fashion. I did something I have never done before, fashion-wise. I showed up to a gala not in a suit, a tux, or a blazer. Listen, this is not a thing I'm gonna do all the time, but I felt like this event, I was gonna try this out. But I wore a very, very nice shirt. It was a button-up, but it was bedazzled. There were some crystals, lots of crystals that was embedded on this shirt. It was a very pricey shirt. We're not going to talk about the price. What that girl say, Jessie said, it's not about the price tag. We're not going to talk about how much that shirt cost. But listen, but my designer who, put it together and everything, I was like, listen, I was going to put a blazer on with it. My goal was that I was going to wear it with a blazer and but they was like, listen, we embroidered all these crystals on this shirt and you're going to wear it without a blazer. And I was like, but, I feel like this might be a little bit. They said, listen, he was like, if you wear this the right way, which is what I did, he was like, no one's going to be talking about you not wearing a blazer. You are literally going to be, you gonna be the knight. He did not lie. 10-10. I have to say, I was a little nervous, but it really, it was, I definitely ate. Definitely one of my top 5 favorite outfits. This year, a lot of outfits I wore this year is some of my favorite ever. Like I've just, new body, yada, yada, new outfits, I suppose. But I love what I wore at the PABJ Gala last week. That gold suit, oh my goodness, that gold tux, that outfit was another iconic piece. Normally when I get dressy, it's normally for the Grammys week. Like I always have a bunch of pieces on, but listen, this has been a great year. This has been a great year and a great, I've been able to pop out some pieces that I have never worn before and brought them out, on some one night only, baby. But there's some nice fits. I've been working with some different folks, some good designers, some people who just want me to wear their outfits for their catalogs. Our people that reach out to me just to dress me. They'll say, hey, I would love for you to wear this. And they're just nice. They just want me to wear something that they got. They just want me to shout them out. I'm in love for unkempt, because a lot of people say, where did you get that from? And I'm just like, someone made it, it'd be like, oh, you flexing. Like, there are people that just get in the DMs and just say, hey, I want to, I design this. I just want to, whatever. And I'm just like, if you want to tell people you want to use me for your portfolio, like they have a book of people they've dressed and things, and they want to say that I wore this or something. So I always like shout out designers. I love, supporting the people. So especially Black designers, or queer designers, because I've had a lot of queer folks that do fashion and things that will hit me up, and just say, hey, I got these pieces, are you interested in this and third? So, shout out to them. I like doing a little bit of fashion influencing. Who would have thought? But yeah, that shirt was custom made, and they sent it to me and said, hey, and when I saw it, I was like, this is so nice. And I didn't know where I was going to wear it. And it was like, hey, don't wear it with a blazer, wear the whole thing out. And I was like, but do you think? And it was like, no. And they were right. I really, it was definitely different. Definitely will incorporate some of that. Not all the time, I don't want to overdo it, but that was definitely a major fashion highlight for me. Luminary Gala 2025, Switch House, iconic. So yeah, that was great. Then on Saturday night, I went to the Harvest Moon Ball. I was the proud co-chair for a second year in a row of it. It is a part of the Mighty Row chapter of Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated. We are the 16th house of the entire fraternity. And that surprised some of my guests who were there. My table, there was a lot of special guests that were in the building. State Representative Morgan Cephas, who was running for Congress. She's a Delta. She was at the ball. Her sister, Chelsea Cox, who is a great political communications consultant in her own right, do her own work. She has a great company and does a lot of work in the city and beyond. My good girl, Charnay Supley, was there, lovely lady, and she was there with her friend who's a Delta. Charnay's an AKA. But my table had a lot of lovely ladies, a lot of divine ladies. Judge-elect Kia Gee was also there. She's a Delta, and she was at the event. And let me tell y'all, listen, the Kappa himself, State Senator Sharif Street, was there, who's also run for Congress. He showed up to the Harvest Moon Ball. So it was a very nice star-studded affair. Great event. Lots and lots of, just beautiful Black people at both of these events. And at a time like this, it's just so important. I love the fact that this year, a lot of the galas I went to the past 2 weeks just was celebrating Black people, Black journalism, Black film, Black Greek life, just a lot of love. Lots of Black beautiful people together for a good reason, a good cause, to celebrate, the achievement of work that we're doing at a time where it just seems like democracy and the world is upside down, like a pancake, just flip-flopping up and down. We just can't be consistent. It's beautiful to see our people, with each other, staying uplifted and staying encouraged and staying optimistic and just having each other. And I find that in these times, it is so important to really invest in your wellness, but also in your community. A lot of you all I'm all in the conversations about elections, right? I definitely, y'all know I'm monitoring these elections like nobody's business. But I want to say that the midterms ain't getting any sooner, right? That 2028 will be here. But in the meantime, right, we can walk and we can chew gum at the same time. Yes, keep our eyes out twice a year, and sometimes a special election. But every primary and every general election, let's make sure we're showing up and we're voting in the polls, right? But outside of that, invest that energy into your community. And let me be very clear about that, okay? It's not just like your local community, right? But the spaces and places and industries that you care about. If you care about public education, if you care about mental health and wellness, if you care about financial literacy, if you care about reproductive rights, LGBTQIA rights, diversity, equity, inclusion, if you care about all these different things, you need to make sure that you're also investing your time and your resources to those particular areas. And also be more concentrated in those areas, right? So this week was the Black Male Educators Conference in Philadelphia. A great man named Sharif El Mackey has been taking this by the helm for many years and been spearheading these efforts with so many other people in the community. Shout out to Dr. Hay, CEO of Boys Latin, my fraternity brother, my line brother, who was the MC, and he was great. So many Black men from all over the country came down here, over 1,400 to be exact. And so let me tell y'all something, ladies, specifically my sisters, snow bunnies, not right now, but to my sisters. A lot of y'all are like, where are the Black educated men at? Honey, they was in Philadelphia this weekend, 1,400 of them. Many of them were single, and a lot of them were under 40. And they were out there in all different types of sizes and looks. There was some small kings, there were some tall kings, there was some mediums, there was some beards, there was some non-beards, there was some baldies, there was some waves. There was something for everybody. You had some Afro-Latino men, you had some there was a Black and Asian guy that was there. A couple of them guys was there, There was something for everybody. It was all types of flavors across the diaspora. You had the Jamaican men, the Caribbean men, Nigerian men, Philly men, Chicago men, Houston men, Cali men, British brothers. There was a variety, okay? There were some Black queer men that were there clearly, but there was a lot of straight men that were there. All levels. Okay, there was men to be daddy, there was men to be zaddy. There was some men that you could date the father or the son. There was some sibling pairs there. I mean, it was a lot of options. Okay. There was a great after party that they had at Mr. Ivy. So y'all saw me at the club on Friday night. Was it Friday night? Yeah, it was Friday night. I went to Mr. Ivy. And y'all know I'm not a nightclub girl. Unless and they did hit my less. They hit my, I said unless, listen, they did hit my goal, okay? When I went, there was a section. I was in the section. Now, I did get on the dance floor a little bit, but not too much because, listen, but it was a very packed party. And there was some lovely ladies that were there that were definitely looking for a man, either for the night or for a journey. Who knows? But that conference is every year, and typically in November. So if you did not know about it, and you're probably like, you didn't tell us about it, Ernest. Why you didn't tell us about this last week? I would have got listen, I'm sorry. I have forgotten myself. My schedules were, but I got to let y'all know, like I told you, like y'all heard about the Alpha Convention. And I gave y'all the heads up about that, and y'all definitely showed up and showed out to that. But there were a lot of ladies and people that were there trying to mix and mingle and find them an educated Black man. Okay, that not only are educated, but it's educating. Okay, so not only are these men Black and educated, they're Black educated educators. Like they're professors, they're teachers, they're principals, they're deans. Like they're invested in educating our youth. Because I believe that children are the future, and so do they. But it was some nice guys that were there. It was a lot of nice men. It was funny when I was there at the event, at the events and parties, there was one of you all was looking at my IG and said, "Who's this guy that's sitting right next to you?" Like trying to make a move. I was able to play matchmaker. She knows who she is. She listens to the show, but she saw the guy, and and see, don't put me out here doing this. Don't make this a habit. Okay, do not make this a habit. But it was a situation where I was at a table and I had did something. And somebody saw somebody in my picture and was like, "Oh, that man looks good. Who was that guy?" I was like, "Well, he is single. Maybe I can make a cross connection." And I made a cross connection and they got a date scheduled in 2 weeks. Listen, you never know. So I guess it's hard out here for the straights, the singles. I don't know what y'all got going on. Y'all doing a lot. Ordering bussies at Starbucks. Okay, let me sidebar this. So apparently there's this term called bussy. Now for those, I'm not gonna tell y'all what that word means. In the world, I'm just gonna say it sounds weird, don't it? But the straights have co-opted this term bussy, And I guess it is a BSSE, a brown sugar spiced espresso. I don't know. I don't drink them, but it's like something that y'all drink at Starbucks and you like it. It's BSSE, but some of y'all decided to call it Bussy. And when I started to see this trend, I was like, so you are driving up to the Starbucks and asking for a Bussy? Okay. I'm not telling y'all everything. I'm not gonna let y'all get all the recipes. I'm not gonna tell y'all what Bussy means in other places. But it cracked me up because it was a guy on online and he was talking about it. He's talking about his wife had told him, you know, about getting a Bussy, and he said he finally had the minute that he got one or whatever. And I said, let me keep listening to this. And he kept talking. He was saying, he had to give him a brown sugar, spiced espresso, something. And I was like, oh. But it's been said around. I've been hearing people say it. Now, I don't support Starbucks, not because of their bussies, but because, there's a lot of reasons not to support Starbucks right now. But, they're first of all, they're anti-union as fuck, okay? So, y'all need to get into that, okay? You need to get into that. But the people that are going down there to Starbucks, you know what? If you want to go to Starbucks and order a bussy, that's what I'm not even going to tell y'all because y'all shouldn't be going to Starbucks. So y'all going to keep going to Starbucks, supporting Starbucks, and go get your bussy. Go get some bussy at the Starbucks, King. If that's what you want. Go get you a bussy. I just think that's hilarious. I'm cracking up. I'm not going to share what bussy means in other places. But even the word alone is hilarious. But I'm not even going to say it. I just know that you couldn't get this bussy at a Starbucks. I'm just going to leave it at that. Moving along. Did not think we were going to talk about bussy this early, but here we are. So yes. So it's been a lot of galas. Um, a lot of connecting, lots of things. Um, I went to see Sarah McLachlan at the Met on Monday. Shout out to Sarah, not Sarah McLachlan, but the other Sarah who was there, who is a big fan of podcasts, who listens every Monday when she's out jogging. Shout out to you, Sarah. Thank you for listening to Ernestly Speaking. She was at the concert with her husband. They seemed like they had a really good time. It was a very, very nice concert. A lot of people were there. And I love going to events. Like, when I get to catch up with fans and listeners of the show, it's just always, it's great. And I hope that I'm as friendly as possible as I am on the show. It's just cool to see people that come up. It's like, and it's touching. So it's always cool to just be out in the wild and meet people. But yes, the concert was great. She was singing all her hits. I had some really good seats. The mic was on, and she shouted Zahav. She went to Zahav for dinner with her crew, and she shouted out Zahav. And I was like, I text Michael Salmanov. I was like, Sarah McLachlan shouting you out. And it was on Monday. It was right before the Michelin Star. We're gonna talk about that in a minute. But yeah, she was great. She sung the hits, baby, and the mic was miking on. It was a very good concert, very, very good concert. So I'm gonna be a little petty, not petty, but I'm gonna have my little nitpick. I wanted her to sing "Fallen" from Afterglow. Um, she did not, which is fine, but I always wanted to hear her sing it live. That is my song. For those Sarah McLachlan fans, y'all know "Fallen." But I've fallen up so long, I done messed up better than. Y'all remember that song? That was that is one of my, you know. Haven't been to take my hand, reach me to the fire, the long way to Manson. Anyway, love that. I just wanted to hear her perform that. But she did sing one of my all-time favorite songs by her, which is Possession. That is one of my favorite all-time Sarah McLachlan songs, and she did on piano. Listen, I know that song by heart. I know the lyrics by heart. That was like, she pulled out, listen. And I would be the one to hold you down, kiss you so hard, I'll take your breath away. And after I wipe away the tears, Listen, that sends me in a trance. First of all, I could go into a deep history about that song and what that song was about because she had a stalker that sent her letters and committed suicide. It's a whole story, okay? And she wrote the song through the eyes of her stalker. It's very deep, very, very deep, okay? That's a whole another chapter. But that song, and that's why when I sing the song, I'm like, this is a little different, but it's very obsessive. Like listen, she was in her bag with that one. That's a very, very dark song, but it comes off very seductive and very, listen, before my time, but it's a hit that stick like grits. Love that song. Yes. She sung all the hits. I mean, she sung all the y'all need to stop calling her the dog rescue lady. Okay. I need y'all to stop doing that. Dr. Parks, you know who you are. Y'all better stop playing with my girl. Okay. She is giving hits. Okay. Dawson Creek. She also did sing When Somebody Loves You. And y'all know that song from Toy Story 2. You remember Jessie, the toy doll, when she got neglected, that beautiful song that got an Academy Award nomination for Best Original Song? When Somebody Loves You was a hit. That's also by her. She did not sing that song. And that is another one that tugs at my heart. If you did not cry the first time you saw Toy Story 2, and I know they're on Toy Story 5 coming up very soon. It is what it is. We're gonna talk about that Toy Story 5. I actually have something to say about that, actually. I'm gonna remember that. Because I do want to talk about that interesting plot twist with that. But, that scene, oh my goodness, y'all, we're getting old. Toy Story 2 is 25 years old. The original Toy Story is 30 years old. The sequel is 25 years old. Not y'all, listen. I just had to, wow. Okay. So this song is like 25 years old. What's going on, y'all? Time is flying. Toy Story 2 is like 25 years old. It's a quarter of a century. Okay. Just wanted to just process that. Because it came out in 1999, the movie did. Wow. 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 Toy Story came out in 1995. Well, that was the year my husband was born, and I was only 4 years old. But some of y'all might be feeling even more aged. So, anyway, that was a really good song. But y'all talk about Angel. Angel's a classic, okay? We know Angel. She did perform Angel, of course. She's never not going to perform that. She performed Building a Mystery, which is another classic, but it was just a good show overall. The vocals were on, the mic was on. She brings out a very queer white crowd. Like all of the older white lesbians of Philadelphia were in that room, okay? I feel like next to Melissa Etheridge, no one brings out an old white lesbian crowd like Sarah McLachlan. Melissa Etheridge is number one. But I would say after Melissa Etheridge, I would say Sarah McLachlan. And then after them, maybe Mansion. She another one that brings out the lesbian crowd. The white lesbian. It's a specific type. Because I didn't really see that many black studs up in there. But Mansion is another great artist. But she she's a good one. But what's her? Nally Merchant. Sorry, Nally Merchant. Nally Merchant be bringing out the white lesbians too. Okay, it was giving Lilith Fair in there, and there's nothing wrong with Lilith Fair. I was there. I wasn't at Lilith Fair. I was too young, but it was like that Lilith Fair crowd was there, and they were there too at last year. I went to the Man. And it was Sarah McLachlan had the 30th anniversary of Fumbling Towards Ecstasy. And so I went, and people were like, what are you doing here? I'm like, listen, I'm a Sarah McLachlan fan. I think people thought I was joking, but I'm like really a Sarah McLachlan fan, like dead ass. Like it's a real thing. Like I don't, I think some people like be fans, but like, let me just say this, sidebar. I always say you're a real fan when you really go to the concerts. Like when you invest in concert tickets, you are a fan. I feel like, some people just go to concerts in general, but like I'm a Beyonce fan. Like I go to Beyonce concerts. I do. I actually get into the costumes. I really get invested in it, right? I am a true Sarah McLachlan fan. Like she came to Philly And I'm not missing that show if I don't. I was gone. I've always wanted her to come to Philly. And like most of the years that she could have came to Philly, she didn't come. I think there was like a Little Fair revival one time and she came, but this was like many, many, many years ago. But like I will go see her. If each time she's in Philly, if I'm available that date, I'm going to make it a priority to go. I done seen 2 Sarah McLachlan concerts in the past 2 years back to back. I'm committed. I'm a Cardi B fan. I'll be at the Cardi B concert in April. Like I do enjoy me some Cardi B. I really do. I'm going to go to the concert as well. So, some shows I'm going to see. Now, some people I do like, but it's just like I'm not necessarily like I need to buy a ticket to see them, right? Like I enjoy Kendrick Lamar. I don't got to go to a Kendrick show though. I don't. But yeah, there's some people like Britney. Oh, I love Britney Spears. I'm a Britney fan. Like when Femme Fatale came to Philly, that was like over 10 years ago. I did get my ticket. I am a Madonna fan. I've gone to see Madonna shows. My husband actually got me a ticket to go see Rebel Heart. Now, he's grown on Madonna lately. It's funny because he always just really didn't care much for her because he was like Team Janet. And let me be very clear, I am a Janet fan as well. But, and I couldn't go see Janet because I had to go see, because it was the same night as Sarah McLachlan. He went to go see Janet. The Lip Brothers went to go see Janet because it was the same night as Sarah McLachlan. I was supposed to be in them box seats and see Janet, but I had to see Sarah McLachlan. That's why I didn't see Janet last year. But we were supposed to go see Janet, was on the same day. So I saw Sarah, and if I would have known she was going to drop a new album, I probably would have saw Janet instead. But we didn't know she was going to drop that new album and then do tour this year. But these are first world problems. But I digress. Real fans know. Real fans know. It was a great Sarah McLachlan concert. I had a really good time. It was fabulous. Now, on to Michelin Star. I was a little gagged, y'all, by the Michelin Star. Let me just start off by saying that I have been to the majority of the 3-star, which is the highest star you can get, Michelin Star restaurants on the Northeast. Okay? Smith, I've been there. Mr. Johnson and I went. That's in Chicago. Who else maintained their 3 stars? La Bourdin, 3 stars. Went there. And I'm going to tell y'all this. We're going to talk about it. I was going to surprise y'all. But I am going to 11 Madison Park next weekend in New York City. Mr. Johnson and I have reservations to go. We're going to do the full tasting menu. We're going to have the 11 Madison Park experience. And I've always wanted to go. I think I've mentioned this in the past, but I wanted them to serve meat. I did not want to go. Listen, y'all can judge y'all cat, but I just was not going to spend or go down to a place like that, expensive, and go there and go through multiple courses and there's no meat on the menu. I'm sorry. I can't justify that, for me at least. But they're serving meat again at 11 Madison Park. And so now they're serving meat again. I'm happy. I know they try to go vegan and all the sustainable stuff, and that's cool, and I get it, and that's nice. But I listen, have y'all seen 11 Madison Square? I'm sorry, 11 Madison Square. Have y'all seen 11 Madison Park menu? Have y'all seen those prices? Yeah, with no meat, it's going to be really hard for me to justify that. So they got meat, they got seafood, they got it all back on the menu. Mr. Johnson and I will be having that experience next weekend. And I know you're like, wait, isn't that Thanksgiving weekend? Listen, Thanksgiving is only a day in our house. We're those people. We really don't do the crazy leftovers. We really don't. We don't really do all of the massive, chicken sandwiches, turkey this, turkey salad. We don't really do all that. We're going to figure out what we're doing, but we bring guests over, we host, and we tell all our guests, come with Tupperware, y'all. Please come with the Tupperware. Please come with your Tupperware. Please come with Tupperware. Take all of my food. Take all of it. We'll keep maybe a couple of things, but we really don't, because we just it's only us. We don't have any kids. We're not the type of people that want to do Thanksgiving like all day, every day, like leftover food. We're just not. Like Thanksgiving, we're going to enjoy the food as is. And I know this defies my upbringing, because I know that the Greens and everything else, they're going to even be, even more rich and more whatever. But let me tell you, we get catered every Thanksgiving. We get our catering by my favorite, Miss Dawn of Details About Miss Dawn. She's my favorite caterer in the city. She's our personal caterer to us. We have two actually. We have Zuri Cooks. He's our personal caterer as well. He does a lot of our chef stuff for like private dinners and things like that. We use Miss Dawn for Thanksgiving, for my birthday parties, and for other stuff that I do. But I'll say between two caterers. They're both black owned. Zuri Cooks, he does our New Year's because Miss Dawn is always she takes her vacation after Thanksgiving. But and of course I normally do Christmas at home or elsewhere. But this time around, she does our Thanksgiving all the time. What I love about her food is that she does the Thanksgiving food, does all the heating, everything the night before. So all of her food is super rich because she does all of our food and seasonings the night before, and then we reheat it the next day. So all the seasonings and everything that soaks in, it's already been done. So it's almost like we're getting the leftover version the day of, and everything's getting reheat. So yeah, it's a very interesting way that she do it, but it just makes the flavor intensity is even higher. So we don't lose, because when you cook Thanksgiving food the day of, right? It's good, right? It's hot, it's fresh, all that. But you all know, anybody who knows some good black soul food Thanksgiving, you all know that it's always the next day, and the day after that where everything really, really hits, right? She do that for us the night before, and then we do the reheating of everything the day after. And so that's how she maintains that quality of excellence in her cooking. And it's just a smart thing. So I get the itis and everything. We take naps, but it's a marathon. But we're hosting people for Thanksgiving per usual. It's gonna be a lovely feast. Shout out to Miss Dawn for catering it. We love you. But anywho, we're gonna be in New York next weekend. No, I cannot make any stops to see you all. We got some things that we have to go to and hit some certain marks. So there's no real time for me to really hang out with anybody in New York City or do anything like that. Because I know when I tell people, I try not to tell folks I'm going to New York in advance, because normally when I do, folks are like, oh, let's hang out. No. I'm there we're there for some specific reasons. We have a benchmark of restaurants we've been invited to go to and try and things like that. So, I'm there for some mix and mingle. Plus, I got to see someone. Y'all know who I'm gonna go see in New York. See Abel and his lovely fiance. So we got some plans. There's some stuff. Of course, I'm gonna go see a play. Y'all know if I'm going to New York City, my rule is every time I go to New York City now, I gotta go to a musical or a play. So we're there to actually see a show. So there's a lot of things that we've gotta hit some restaurants, some fine dining. I gotta do. So I just want y'all to know, if y'all see me in New York City, be like, oh, let's go. I'm in there for a short time, not a long time. We in there to hit it and quit it. So I'll be there Friday and Saturday. And then I'll be back doing my show on the record with Ernest Owens on Sunday morning. So, we're fast paced. But with that being said, that's why we're not going to have super leftovers or anything, because we're not going to be there. We're not going to be able to eat it all those different days. So it's not going to be that many Thanksgiving leftovers, and we don't want to keep anything in the fridge too long anyway. I'm all about that food inspection, that food safety. That's why I don't get food poisoning, food illness. Some of you all, I really want people this season, because there's a lot of flus, a lot of viruses and things going on. I really want you all to make sure that you are really maintaining a sense of understanding around food safety. Because food safety, especially with the FDA under this current administration, is so important that we really look out for each other when it comes to how we wash our fruits and vegetables, how we're storing things in the fridge, how we're treating our leftovers, how we're wrapping our food. There's just a lot of stuff going on around foodborne illnesses and things like that. And I just want you all to understand how to properly thaw things. We're going to talk about that later on the show. But I need y'all to understand how to properly thaw things, store things, leave things out, take stuff out. Like, are you all putting, baking soda in the fridge to make sure that you're deodorizing your fridge? Are you all making sure that you're checking expiration dates, understanding how that works? Like, I just want y'all to be safe out here, because there's a lot of people out here getting sick, and they don't have to. So just make sure that you're looking into proper ways of food storage and cleanliness, because that is very important. That was on my heart to say that. But I also want to talk about other things I did. So let me get to Michelin Star, because I want to get on to Michelin Star, because I don't want to digress. But Michelin Star real quick. Yeah, only 3 Philly restaurants got stars. And they were all 1 star. And there's nothing wrong with a Michelin star. Let me be very clear. To get a Michelin star is big. But there were no 3 stars and there were no 2 stars. Only 3 restaurants got them. So starting with the restaurant I was not shocked about, that I was happy about. Friday, Saturday, Sunday, the Black-owned restaurant by my good friend Chad Williams and his lovely wife. They own Hannah. They own Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Lovely couple. Y'all know that I've said for years, that Friday, Saturday, Sunday is my favorite restaurant in Philadelphia. It's my favorite restaurant. Okay? It is the first Black-owned restaurant in Philadelphia to ever receive a Michelin star. There's only 3 restaurants in Philadelphia that won one. Okay? Her supper club, her place supper club, it won a Michelin star. A lot of people were surprised. I was a little surprised. I'm not gonna hold you. I mean, it's been critically acclaimed, right? It's gotten James Beard nominations. It's gotten some acclaim. But I was surprised. That it got a star. Maybe I'm not surprised that it got a star. Maybe it's more so that I'm surprised that it got 1 star alongside of Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Like mentally, I could see Friday, Saturday, Sunday getting 2 stars. But I'm not a part of the Michelin committee or team. So I couldn't make that assessment. But I feel like Friday, Saturday, Sunday could have gotten 2 stars. Not 3 stars. Not 3 stars right now. Not 3 stars. But definitely I could see it getting into the 2 star conversation. Her Supper Club, 1 star in that concept and trajectory. Provenance got 1 star. Provenance did get the star, y'all. That was the one everybody was biting their nails to see. I would have put Provenance in 2 stars. But I get that it's been 1 year, so I can understand it being 1 year. But I have thoughts, right? But I definitely think those are definitely good restaurants across the board. I thought there would be more restaurants that would have gotten Michelin stars, in my opinion. I feel bad for Boston, though. Boston only got 1 restaurant got a Michelin star. Only 1 restaurant got a Michelin star in Boston. Only 1. They spent all that money for Michelin star to come down there, and only 1 restaurant in Boston got a Michelin star for the first time. So I must say, Philly, we can't complain. We got 3. We'll take it. We'll take it for now. Definitely going to be some more cities next year, I believe. I definitely think there are going to be some more cities that's going to get one. But it was, the diversity of it was cool, right? So here's some things, right? There were Bib Gourmand honorees, right? And the Bib Gourmand is basically restaurants that they recommend that's going to be the Michelin guide. But the Michelin stars are the ones of prestige, right? Bib Gourmand is pretty nice, but they kind of open up to different people, right? These are good restaurants that they say have quality that's for bang for your buck, things like that. So Pizzeria Badia was on there. Del Rossi was on there. Delisandro's was on there. I was a little surprised about Delisandro's because I know that Delisandro's is not owned by the same people. Like there's something going on with the ownership over there, or at least the people running it. So I've heard. But I was a little surprised Delisandro's was on there. I mean, now, because I don't think the Delisandro's cheesesteak tastes as good as it used to. Now, Angelo's was on there, which I was happy about, But they had Del Rossi. They had Dizengoff. They had Zahav. Laser Wolf was on there. Um, there was another restaurant. Oh, Vetri Cucina was on there, but the other restaurant that he owns, Florillo, that was on there. Mon wasn't on there, which was interesting. We'll get to that in a minute. Mon wasn't on there. Honeysuckle Provision, not Honeysuckle Provision, Honeysuckle was on there. Yeah. It was some interesting, yeah, Michael Salmanov had Dizengoff on there. It was a lot of Michael Salmanov restaurants that was on there. In the Bib Gourmand. And that's about Bib Gourmand. Yeah, it was interesting. Royal Sushi was on there, but people were shocked that the izakaya wasn't on there. And part of the reason why, and so this is the Philly dilemma. This is the Philly problem. Because a lot of y'all, Kalaya was on there, um, which is pretty good. It got the Bib Gourmand. I thought it should have got a Michelin star. Interesting. Very interesting choices by Michelin. Got some thoughts now. Got a lot of thoughts about who got one, who did it. But I'm not Michelin. But part of what I was hearing was that the Michelin people were not able to get into the izakaya. So they weren't able actually to get inside the Royal Sushi izakaya, the actual omakase. They were able to get into the general restaurant, which is very affordable, but they could not be able to get inside the actual small seating omakase because of reservations. And I think that was the other issue with Mon too. So I think the problem is that some of these really great restaurants, Michelin can't even get inside them. Like, and I think that does speak to the ability of like Michelin star. To a certain point, your restaurant has to be somewhat accessible for people to go. Like, even if you might say that the restaurant is a hard to get into restaurant, there's still got to be an availability element that can. And what I do like about, because I mean, to be clear, Royal Sushi's omakase, I mean, it's just really hard to get in there. I'm going to go and have the experience for the first time in December. My ass has not even been able to get in there. Finally I am. I'm going to go in December. But it's been a journey to get in there. So I've been to Royal Sushi, like I've had the other things, but I have not been to the omakase. So I'm going to have the first ever experience with Mr. Johnson in December. So, just put in perspective. So when y'all are like, why is it not getting, a Michelin star? Well, if you can't even get in to actually rate it, So some of these restaurants in Philly, I feel like are very hard to get into. It's not that hard to go to Friday, Saturday, Sunday. If you really want to get to Friday, Saturday, Sunday, it's not that super hard to. And the reason why is because he has a tasting menu that you have to pay for up front. And I think that is a really good strategy. If you really want to go, you got to pay up front. And so if you are a judge, right, that want to judge the restaurant, it's easy. Like, it's not that hard to get into Friday, Saturday, Sunday. I know people say it is, but it really isn't. Now, if you want to go at a certain time, a certain date, or whatever, it can get a little tricky. But even like 11 Madison Square, I keep saying 11 Madison Square, 11 Madison Park, it was not super hard to get a reservation. I think what we wanted was a reservation on a Friday night, right? And so we was able to land that. That took a little bit more, time. But some of these other restaurants, though, that are trying to be in the conversation, the reason why it's hard to get them is because they have like individual menus, so they're not tasting menus. So you just have to reserve to get in, and then you pay for what you pay for once you get in. So I can understand that logic, right? I can understand that quote unquote barrier. But that being said, it's still, a major, pillar, right? Like her place, you got to pay up front. So it's not super hard to get into her place. It is a little hard, right? Because the reservations do fill up, but there is a little bit of a buffer that when those reservations open up, you could pay up front, I think the issue with Royal Sushi, the izakaya, the omakase aspect of it is that there's only like 6 seats available. but so many are like 8 seats or whatever. But it's a small setting. And so then you have to the people who got money can easily grab those in 5 seconds. Like, and to be clear, some of these restaurants, what they won't tell you is they are booking people in advance in ways that you can't see. Like certain celebrities, they're getting reservations at these places in ways that are like, do y'all think Sarah McLachlan was on Resi to get into Zahav? Probably not. But that's the thing. These celebrities, right? They're getting into these places when they come to Philly. These famous actors and actresses, like they're all coming. Like Hollywood is going to these restaurants in Philly, and so they're the ones getting these reservations, and so they're highly exclusive, and like that's fine, right? But the problem is that you can miss out on these opportunities to get a Michelin star. You can miss out on certain opportunities to get certain things that you might want because your restaurant is so inaccessible that even a Michelin star judge can't even come and rate it. So those are the challenges. I think that's the same thing with Mon. I think it's hard. Mon is like so hard to get into, that even Michelin star has to be discreet. They can't say, I'm coming in to judge. It's so hard, right? And so when your restaurant is super hard to get into like that, that can create it, Now, I think Kalila could have gotten a Michelin star, in my opinion. I don't know what happened. I think that's just, that to me felt like, damn, But taste is subjective, right? Taste is subjective. With somebody yuck might be someone's yam, But they did get a bib gourmand, but would have liked, would have liked to saw them get that Michelin star. It was interesting because when you saw the bib gourmands, it was almost like a contest. Like you realize, if they didn't get a bib gourmand, that meant that they were up for the major star. So when I didn't hear Friday, Saturday, Sunday announced when they did the bib gourmand, I was like, oh, there's no way that they're going to get snubbed. And I think when I saw everybody else getting their honor, I was like, oh, that's why. Okay. Because you don't get a bib gourmand and also get a Michelin star. It's like a ranking tier thing. So I was like, I see. So when I saw Kalila go up and get honored for the bib gourmand, that was their way of knowing they weren't going to get a star. So when Friday, Saturday, Sunday get named, it was kind of like you knew they were going to get a star. You was hoping they was going to get a star. And they did get a star. But when Royal Sushi and Izakaya got named, that was like oh, snap. They're not going to get a star. And so, yeah, it was that moment, when I saw the restaurants getting named, I was like, oh, who's left? And Provenance wasn't named. So I was like, I think Provenance going to get a star. Mr. Johnson and I, we watched at home. We were not at the event itself, but we were just like, wait, what's going on here? And then when they did the 1 star and they announced it. But I definitely felt like there was some Philly restaurants that should have gotten a little bit higher. I definitely feel like, I don't know if we have a 3-star Michelin restaurant yet. I think Provenance has the potential to get 3 stars. I don't think we have a 3-star Michelin star restaurant in Philly yet. Not yet. I don't think yet. But I definitely think we got some 2-star. I definitely think Friday, Saturday, Sunday could get a 2-star, But I will also say, y'all, and I want to make this clear, Michelin star loves some Japanese restaurants. They love some Japanese sushi omakase restaurants. They have a certain type of mindset, what they think hospitality is. And that became very clear to me. A lot of their restaurants were like super, super, like very small plate type of energy. A lot of Japanese, lots of omakases got them damn stars. So that's one thing. And I don't want Philly to be a city of just like one type of cuisine. And there was a lot of like super elevated fine dining tasting menu type of energy, which y'all know I love a tasting menu, but it was a lot of that, I think, that was getting those stars. But that was a trend I saw. So people that was asking, now that we all know this, everyone was asking, do you think Michelin's going to change the city? Not that much now. I think Philly's going to be okay. I think Philly's going to be all right. The restaurants that got the bid gourmand was already loved and beloved by the city. I don't think it's going to make as much of a massive impact as I thought. I think if there were more restaurants that was getting those stars, I would have a little bit of a, But, I don't know. I don't think it is. Now, for Friday, Saturday, Sunday, of course, it's going to continue to be one of those hard spots to get into. Shout out to Provenance. I think Provenance is now going to be one of those destination restaurants, not just only in Philadelphia, but around the city, around the region. And I really do like Provenance. I loved Provenance when I went last year. It was one of my favorite restaurants I went to before I wrapped up my time as editor of Eater Philly. And I thought it was misunderstood by a lot of these publications. But I saw the vision, and I'm very happy for Nick. I think Nick, is a great chef. His lovely wife, who is Korean, I believe, he was inspired by French and Korean influences, and it shows through in his menu. And yeah, it was a really great restaurant, and I'm happy that it's getting its props, and I'm happy that it's entering the conversation because it got snubbed by a lot of other places. Like, I was surprised that it didn't get any, it was not in the conversation for James Beard, but I hope that changes now because it is a very fascinating restaurant and it deserves its props. I mean, what I love about Friday, Saturday, Sunday is that it's beloved by everybody. It won Outstanding Restaurant by James Beard, like Best Restaurant right after Zahav. And a lot of people didn't think that after Zahav we would get another one of those. But Philadelphia is producing some great restaurants, and I'm happy that Friday, Saturday, Sunday, this incredible Black-owned restaurant continues to shine and just continue to be a beacon of culinary excellence in the city. I've been a fan for many years, and I am just so happy that I know the chef and I will not have a problem getting a reservation there. Sometimes, favor ain't fair, okay? But before I get into the general hot topics, I also want to add, just in case people want to know about charity, PABJ is collaborating with Tito's Handmade Vodka to do Cocktail for a Cause. And so if you get a Tito's Handmade Vodka cocktail at any of our participating spots, $1 of every cocktail you get with Tito's at places like the Pyramid Club, Booker's, yes, Brad Booker's, Chris's Jazz Parlor. If you go to those spots, if you go to Booker's, any of y'all, because a lot of y'all like to go to Booker's for happy hour, they have a new martini menu and a martini bar that is there. They got all these great cocktails that they just dropped. They got a lychee martini there that is so good. If you get that with the Tito's Handmade Vodka, which is how I drink it, $1 from that cocktail will go to support PABJ. And they're going to be doing that from now until December 31st. So, drink you some Tito's and any cocktail. If you want a Tito's and club soda, Cosmo with Tito's or whatever, every dollar off of every cocktail will be going to support PABJ. So, go to Booker's, support your Black-owned restaurants. Go to Chris's Jazz's Parlor. Go to the Pyramid Club. If you go out to the Pyramid Club for an event, I'm a member of the Pyramid Club, so every time I go in there and drink and get me a cocktail, I'm always getting it with Tito's because it supports a good cause. Please do that. That is going to happen from now until December 31st. So we're raising some good money, and that's going to support our wonderful organization and work that we do. So I want to put that shameless plug. Also, this week in media, I interviewed State Representative Jordan Harris because there's some big news. The budget just passed in Harrisburg. We're going to talk about that later on in this episode. But he was a special guest this time around. So that was that. And also, I want to add this. I went to Back to the Future, the musical. A lot of you ought to not know Back to the Future was a musical. Yes, Back to the Future is currently at Ensemble Arts, formerly known as the Kimmel Center. We know the Kimmel. But it's at Ensemble Arts. My brother and I, we went to see Back to the Future musical. And it was fun. It was a very fun show. I was surprised by how creative it was. It's by Robert Zemeckis, and it's a musical by Bob Gale and Robert Zemeckis, who did the original Back to the Future. But it's an actual musical that's very popular, and it was on Broadway. Um, it was on Broadway, and yeah, it was really cool. Um, it came out last year, and it got Tony nominations. But it was some good work. Roger Bart was in the Broadway musical version, and the scenic design got a nomination at the Tonys as well. But yeah, he done a lot of good work. The guy who plays Doc Brown in Back to the Future, he got nominated for Best Actor in a Featured Role in the 2024 Tony Awards. So yeah, but no, Back to the Future had a Broadway run, and now it's on his national tour, and it was a good show. It was a very good show, and yeah, fun stuff, and yeah, I encourage people to. The actor Roger Bart was phenomenal. He won a Tony for playing Snoopy in the revival "You're a Good Man, Charlie Brown," the Broadway musical revival. But now he's playing Doc in Back to the Future. So yeah, it was a really good show. It was great scenic design, very interesting production. I mean, it was a lot. Um, so yeah, great show. It was great to see the cast and everything like that. But it's currently at the Ensemble um theater. The theater was called the Academy of Music. It's not the Academy of Music, but Ensemble Arts is what they call themselves. So a lot of people know them as was it Kimmel Cultural Campus, or the Kimmel Center and all that. It is now called Ensemble Arts, and they were doing their big one. So it was a good show. It was a really good show. And yes, the show is still playing. They're on their current, like they're on their national tour. For those who are interested to see it live. Very, very interesting. So it's based off of the movie, the popular 1985 movie, which is now 40 years old. Back to the Future is 40 years old. Fun fact. It's 40 years old. And the show is playing now until November 30th. So you got plenty of time to watch it. If you want to watch it during Thanksgiving, this Thanksgiving season, it is happening from now until Sunday. So make sure you check it out. It's a lively, entertaining show. It is a family-friendly show, so it's not one of those like very grotesque, very like hypersexual musicals or anything like that. It is very family-friendly, but also very mature. It's got that sense of humor that they have jokes that if you are a young person, it might fly over your head, but if you're like my age, there's certain jokes you'll get in innuendo. So it's really fun. It was very fun. And like, it's definitely a musical. There's some cool songs, but it's also a lot of dialogue and acting, which I appreciate. So it's not one of those like musicals where it's like a bunch of singing all the time, but there is songs and things, but it's a really great show. It was very fun, very action paced, and just really overall good show. So I highly recommend it. So yeah. And now for hot topics. Trump is going through it. And I'm not even being sarcastic. That man is going through it. There is no words. And last episode, I kept saying, "Are y'all seeing what I'm seeing?" I said I couldn't say it. I just said, let some stuff play out. But ladies and gentlemen, we are witnessing a coup de grace. Okay? French for fuck him up. Listen, MAGA and the GOP, which at this point to me are synonymous. Like I think they're the same at this point. I'm not MAGA. I'm a Republican. Child, whatever. I don't know. For many years, MAGA was the party of the GOP and the GOP the party of it. Now I know there's some people that like to distance themselves from it, but it's like y'all benefiting. Listen. The GOP benefited off of the MAGA fruit that was from the Garden of Trump. And I just hate that there were people throughout that period that tried to act like that was not the case. Now, there are the Liz Cheney Republicans, which they didn't exist. You're going to see a rise of them now, but let's not forget. Because I am finally going to unleash a lot of my thoughts about Marjorie Taylor Greene. I had to wait to see this play out, but I think it's very clear what's going on. Are you all picking up what I'm putting down? There's a lot of shit that's been going on that I don't like to get too foreshadowy until there's more. I think I've seen enough where I could be able to draw some conclusions. We don't have the full story, but we got enough to make some smart conclusions or draw some smart conclusions. So let me back up on Trump. Trump has had it hard. Not that I'm pitying him, but it's very obvious that this man is going through it in ways that I don't think any of us thought would happen so soon. And I think a lot of this is explained in some of his other behavior, because I think there's a lot of things happening that some of you all might be like, huh, what's going on? Let's be clear. So let's start with this part. The GOP is going to become the GOP, and they're reimagining their identity in this MAGA world. I think that the GOP is starting to take the MAGA out of it. For so long, we wasn't even saying GOP, the grand old party. This is the Republican Party, y'all. For those who may be wondering why I keep saying GOP, the Republican Party. For so long, the Republican Party was MAGA, and MAGA was the Republican Party. They were, on the same wave. So Trump's party and MAGA was all the same. That was what it was. I would say it's been that way for quite some time. Now, it looks like the Republican Party is trying to reemerge as something where MAGA is going to be a thing of the past. It looks like MAGA was a phase, but it looks like that phase is shortly fading out. That's what it looks like. Now, let's be clear. Republicans have had various iterations of identity. Just like Democrats, every political party has gone through these waves, right? Democrats had their Dixie Democrat era, okay? This was in the 20th century, and they were not the most, I will say, before Lyndon B. Johnson. Nah, I would even say before the New Deal, right? There was a certain element of the Democratic Party that was very racist, very much support segregation, very much the type of racist that Joe Biden used to coddle back in the day. Like, I'm talking before I was born, when my parents were kids, okay? That type of racism and culture. Democratic Party was not the party it is now. It's going through various iterations. They had their neoconservative era, their Reagan light era, their George Bush, but we like the gays era, their we support public services, gay marriage can be on the chopping block era. They've gone through their phases too. Okay, no party is exempt. But we're talking about the Republican Party right now. They had their "we're rich and we don't care about poor people" era. They had their "we're rich but we're going to act like we care about poor people" era. They had their "we're billionaires but we're going to pretend that we like rural poor America" era, as long as they're white. We've had their technocrat billionaire class. We are going to screw over poor people while also making front poor people fight our causes era. Like, Republicans have gone through it all. Tea Party, remember the Tea Party movement for a period of time? That was in the early 2010s. The Tea Party movement. They had their super religious crusader evangelical, era, which was like late 90s, early 2000s, era, where they were very hyper. This land is my land. This land is your land. we're gonna love on Jesus Christ, and we're going to say screw the Dixie Chicks, and we're going to make prayer the mandate, and everything's going to have God in it. And yeah, we had that hyper religious evangelical Christian era that was like, I mean, a lot of it you could even say was the 80s under Reagan, but then it kind of reemerged after the Bill Clinton scandal. Like, there was these, I mean, listen, we can talk about the religiosity of the Republican Party. It's had these ebb and flows, right? There was a higher rise in the 80s during the Reagan era. Then it kind of like tiptoed out with Clinton because the Democrats came through and had their moment. The 90s was all Clinton. The Monica Lewinsky scandal, the the Jerry Falwell era, right? Hustler magazine, Supreme Court pornography, all of that stuff, censorship, Tipper Gore, Al Gore, we had all of this going on with this very, you know, like hyper level of interest in trying to religiously sanitize our understanding, right? You had Liz Cheney, you know, who was trying to do it. Was a lot of that stuff about protecting our kids, putting a parental advisory stickers on rap albums, right? The war on hip hop. Like all of this type of religiosity that we saw in American politics in the 90s made way and really took off with the resurgence of Republicans in the early 2000s under Bush, right? And so we've seen these different eras and phases. This current era of the Republican Party was very much MAGA, which was a combination of we're going to support these badass, rich, white billionaire boy club of like, we're going to be like, opportunity and jobs, rich, 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 rich. But then also this side of like hyper racism, hyper transphobia, very anti progress on so many fronts. So you had this extreme steroid of like the ultra rich fueling a lot of the polarizing, racist, white supremacy, but through a very like working class, white male hierarchical structure. It was very weird, but it was a hybrid of Reaganomics. Reagan meets, you know, the trailer park. I don't know. Like, it was this interesting identity that Mega took on, right? Because they were supposed to be for the people, but really for a certain demographic of people. And they was able to really, and I talk like it's past tense, because I do feel like Mega is, listen, their height of heights was January 6th, 2021. And in many ways, this podcast has come out during the rise and fall. But we're now at the fall. I think Mega's best days are behind them. I'm not saying they're going to just completely evaporate and dissolve, right? Because white supremacy never dies. At least not yet. Hopefully it will soon, but not right now. It's not. That's not going to die. But the way in which it is morphed into our politics through the mega system, I think that is eroding. And there's a lot of signs for that. There's a lot of signs that Trump, the best is there. Let's talk about the Epstein vote, right? He tried to get members of Congress not to push to release those files. And then when they ignored him, he flip-flopped. He flip-flopped. Trump is flip-flopping a lot because I think he is recognizing that he's not seizing the power, right? You look at that filibuster. When we had the shutdown, right? He was telling people that he wanted them to kill this procedural hurdle, right? So he could send the spending bill over. He wanted to send through a spending bill over the Democratic objections. He wanted that. He wanted them to kill this procedural hurdle of the shutdown. He wanted them to do the filibuster. He wanted them to, you know? He wanted them to kill the and they could have killed the filibuster. Let's be very clear. Let's be very clear. They could have killed the filibuster, which would have killed the shutdown and would have got him what he wanted. But those Republicans knew that if the Democrats had a majority, they could abuse this. He's not lying. They're not lying. The Republicans are not lying. That, yes, the 2/3 majority could have easily stopped the filibuster. We could have just moved on. This could have got faster. But Republicans knew that if Democrats get that majority, when they get it, they will shut down. So it's a level of civility that was there that Trump didn't want. Let's talk about the redistricting. A lot of states have pushed back against Trump's interest in redrawing those congressional maps. What we saw in Texas, which is supposed to be his own red state, like that's supposed to be one of his backyards, right? Politically. They pushed back on his congressional redistricting. Now the Supreme Court, okay, because of Sam Alito, y'all better pay attention. Y'all over there worried about Clarence. Listen, Clarence Thomas is his own problem. But that Samuel Alito is the one y'all really need to be paying attention to in the Supreme Court. Supreme Court Justice Samuel Alito, y'all need to really be paying attention to him. We used to talk, listen, he is somebody that I think, I don't know, people be skipping over him because they be focused on Clarence Thomas. And John Roberts too a little bit, which makes sense because he's the chief. But Samuel Alito is the real one. I was very surprised that there was not enough coverage around him having that flag, that seditionist flag on one of his properties. We talk a lot about Clarence Thomas and his wife, Virginia, Jenny as they call her. Yes, she's got her own conflict, interests, and problems, and that should have been covered. But a lot of people not talk about Samuel Alito and some of his very clear bias and in the ways in which he's been pushing a lot of the Trump agenda to the Supreme Court. I'm just saying, pay attention to him. Because right now, he's actually trying to fight against the Texas ruling that is not allowing Trump to have those congressional redistricting that would ensure some Republican wins during that midterm. That was Texas. Texas judges said, no, we don't want this. Now, Samuel Alito is putting a pause on that for now because he's trying to help push that through. Red flag. Other issue. We're not going to forget about these boat strikes. I've been talking about this on the podcast for the last several episodes because I don't think a lot of people are recognizing what's going on with what's happening in South America with these boats. But a lot of Republicans are beginning to be critical about the fact that people are being killed on these boats and they're being accused of drug smuggling, even though they're not drug smugglers. Like the U.S. government is killing innocent people that are not Americans, but killing folks that's come from South America to travel here. And the justification for this, I mean, look at what's going on with Venezuela, Colombia. There's some issues happening over there. And it's almost given like a war about to pop off. Let me not panic you all. Let me calm this down. It's not that a war is going to pop off, but this is the type of behavior that could provoke a war, right? U.S. government is claiming that they're trying to address drug smugglers. These people that are being killed are not smuggling drugs. These boats do not contain any drugs. So we just out here killing people and not, like, this is not our citizens, but other people's citizens. Like, if this was the U.S. and one of our people was being killed off of some false narratives of drug smuggling or something, this would be a problem. Like, are we going to forget what happened to Brittany Griner? Like, Brittany Griner was kept for months. They didn't kill her. Russia did not kill her, which was good. But like, come on. So Republicans are being very critical about that. Speaking of Russia, you got these sanctions. Republicans are trying to push, and they got a bipartisan effort with the Democrats. They're trying to put more sanctions on Russia. Trump doesn't want to do that. Why? We don't even got to ask. But Republicans are feeling some type of way. Now, let's talk about the Trump checks. Because remember, that was what everybody was talking about. Those Trump checks. What happened to those Trump checks? Trump said, he want to give a $2,000 tariff rebate checks. Trump want to give out some checks because apparently y'all like them Trump checks. He want to give out some $2,000 tariff rebate checks. For a man who is a business owner, he don't know how to lower costs, but he know how to spend money. These Senate Republicans aren't feeling that. They say that money could be used to reduce the deficit because they want to be fiscally responsible. Oh yeah, fiscal responsibility. We forgot about that, didn't we? Trump having a hard time with that. It's a lot. It's a lot. The polls, there's a lot of insubordination right now. The Republicans are bucking up against Trump in ways that we have not seen. So this is a lot to take in. We got to figure out what's happening with the Trump administration. But they're bucking up against them. And there's several reasons why, right? I think some of it is that these poll numbers are not looking good for Trump. And I know people say, don't care about the polls, don't read the polls. I know, but the polling is showing that Trump and the Republicans are looking very weak right now compared to various issues. The shutdown, despite the fact that certain idiots like Charlemagne the God and others have tried to act like it made the Democrats look bad. Have anybody talked to the American people? Have y'all been out here in these streets? The American people are recognizing in this situation that the Republicans were the aggressor and the bad guys, for a better lack of a term, in this government shutdown issue. No one is walking away with anyone with common sense. And most Americans, I believe, do not think that the Democrats are to blame for this shutdown. And like I always tell people, the number one question, and I remember Ronald Reagan asked this question, the way that you compare leadership is ask yourself the question, were you better off this year than you were last year? And if the answer is no, that's always a sign that the administration and team that's in position is worse. That was a question that Trump posed with Biden. It's it can be a very complicated, problematic question, but American voters, that's how they feel, right? A lot of Americans financially, when they were dealing with Trump, with Biden, when you asked them how they were financially during the Trump era compared to Biden, the answers were real. A lot of people felt like financially, because that's where a lot of people's heads are at, unfortunately, they felt like they were financially better with Trump during the Trump era, the first term of Trump. Now, there's a lot of reasons why. I'm not going to get through the minutia of, he benefited from a lot of Obama's policies that allowed for there to usher in some financial gains that, Hillary would have gotten a chance to take credit for and benefit off of. But Obama put things in position that whoever was going to take it after him was going to inherit something really good. That's very important. Trump benefited from that. So a lot of Americans that felt financially good under Trump with them tax cuts and stuff, yeah, I can see that. Problem is that when Trump left office, a lot of the dumb policies he put in place that benefited the super rich, when that shit hit Biden, we did get a lot of financial issues based on those things. We got the negative side of it. And so now we've inherited a lot of fuckery because of those policies. And it began to hit in the Biden administration. And so a lot of Democrats and folks felt it. And a lot of people blamed Biden for it. It was not Biden's fault. I will say, I don't think it was Biden's fault all the way. A lot of this was just bad. This is just the current state of, one, we saw the full-fledged consequences of a lot of things, but I would say the pandemic was the big one, right? The financial consequence of the pandemic really, really hit Biden. The repair part, right? The building back better part. We, When Trump ran, right, that was in 2020. That was in the middle. That was like smack dab right there the year the pandemic happened. So nobody could fault anybody. He couldn't be blamed for the pandemic or the financial impacts of it, right? He wrote his Trump checks. He did that, but we couldn't really see the real aftermath. When Biden started his presidency in 2021, we really began to see a lot of the material consequences and the residue from that pandemic. And I think a lot of people forget that this was a president that had to navigate and usher us out of that. And there was a lot of things that no one could have foresaw from a lot of the financial setbacks. Because I think a lot of people just thought once vaccinations came, once once everybody was well again, and things were, herd immunity, all that things are going to go back to normal. It has not. And it will not. The pandemic is in many ways one of those historical moments in our world, like 9/11 was. What 9/11 did to public safety in our country is what the pandemic did to our workplace economy. It will never be the same. Like, I don't think, and I was like 10 years old when 9/11 happened, right? I don't know, as a millennial at my age, I don't know what it was like to go through security without all these stops. Like, I look like one of my parents, or like, certain mentors of mine will tell me that, you just got on an airplane like you would ride a bus. I was like, wait, what? Like, security, like the way that we go through all of these clearances and stuff at the airport, they said it wasn't like that back in the day. I don't even know what that world was like. Like, 9/11 completely changed the way that people were surveilled and monitored in this country and in the world, but really in this country. And I don't know a world where it was that many, like that many surveillances. Like, I don't know a world like that. That has changed my world. Like, my younger brother was born in 2003. The other one was born in 2010. They don't know a world where when you go to the airport, you got to send everything through. You got to put your hands up and go through. Like, they don't know what that world looks like. They don't. But a lot of you all do. No one was prepared for that, right? Like, how that would transform. And I think the pandemic has transformed the industry in a way that, like, look, I don't care what y'all say. Everybody ain't going back to the office. The era of big downtown, having all these office workspaces and all these office buildings with tons of employees downtown, them days are over. You'll recover some of those offices and headquarters, but now that people know that you can work from home, you can do stuff remotely, everybody's not going back. You're not going to be able to revitalize a downtown nightlife, not nightlife, but a downtown work day. You could revitalize nightlife for sure, but the era of a busy downtown, and I'm not talking about New York City, they're in their own universe, but I'm talking about, and they got their problems too, but I'm talking about in most American cities, the idea of a downtown with lots of office buildings and people working 9 to 5, that shit is over. We'll get some people will go back, yeah, of course. But companies and corporations creating big old headquarter offices where everybody's working in the office, it's not happening. The money's not there to invest in that. And also, a lot of people have realized that that's not even how they want to have a culture. The modern day work office is more hybrid. It's more virtual than ever, but it's not conventional 9 to 5 offices. A lot of people didn't even know, but a lot of your favorite publications don't even have full office space like they used to. I've not been in the Philadelphia Magazine office in God knows how long. I don't even think we have like a major, massive office. Like, we used to have an office like on Market Street. It got relocated to the Curtis building. Now we don't have the Curtis building. We don't have a whole office space anymore. The pandemic made it possible for a lot of us are working virtually. The Philadelphia Inquirer has downsized. They have an office like downtown, But their office is now a floor now. It's not the big old office that y'all were used to in an older building. Like, that is done. They have downsized completely. They share space. People can go in, opt in when they want to, but it's very quieter over there. A lot of these newsrooms are. Like, nobody is in the office like the traditional newsroom, what you're expecting. A lot of this stuff is virtual. People on Slack, people on, GroupMe. Y'all know, y'all work in these spaces. Y'all know what the world is giving now, but it's not none of that grandeur that it used to be. And so Biden, in many ways, he inherited a different type of economy. And with a lot of Trump's policies that juiced up money that now was coming down, he got the unfortunate brunt of that. And it's and so people were upset. So I say all this to say that if you asked Americans last year, were they better off with Trump financially than Biden, I can see why they said that about Trump. I'm not talking about all the other policies. As a Black queer person, I was not better with Trump than I was with Biden as a whole person, okay? So I don't play those games. But they say it's the economy, stupid. So economically speaking, there was a case to be made for some people to make that argument, right? Now, in 2025, however, we got some comparisons to make. Even though the economy was a little shaky and there were a little bit of inflation, right? Americans were doing better last year around this time than they are this year. And Mr. Trump, who made all these promises about revitalizing the economy and doing this, that, and the third, broski, what you doing? It don't really look like you doing much on that front. I don't really see all that progress you talking about. It look like people paying more. You was the one who ran on the whole eggs. Shit, the eggs are more expensive now than they were last year. Everybody wanted to talk about eggs and the cost of milk and all this other stuff. Shit, these prices ain't going down yet, buddy. And so now he think having this new Trump, I'm going to call it the Trump tariff check that he's been trying to push, that don't look like it's getting any popularity amongst Republicans. I don't know. I think he's in some deep water. And Republicans are being blamed for that. Some people are saying it's much worse than anticipated. And this is a lot. Trump was supposed to fix these things. He's supposed to fix the rising costs. And I also think that they're looking at the future. Mar-a-Lago is going to be a thing of the past. I think a lot of the stuff that's happening right now, I think everybody's realizing next year, 2026, is just a couple of weeks away. Midterms is coming sooner than later. The Trump era is about to be done. And Trump is getting closer and closer. He's pretty much a lame duck. Republicans are going to have to come back and imagine a universe where Trump is not the center of attention. And with Trump's behavior that's been up and down all around, talking about, retweeting tweets about people being hanged and being in trouble, Democrats for defying him, paying the price. And this sounds like seditionist action. It sounds like retaliation. This is not okay. Entertain the thoughts of people being hung back in the day, like the George Washington. Like, what is going on? This man is unhinged. But it looks like he's met his match. So we got to get into this, T, because Marjorie Taylor Greene, okay? Marjorie Taylor Greene has announced that she will be leaving Congress January 5th, which is short of the 5-year anniversary of the January 6th insurrection. She's leaving. And of course, there's always benefits. Her pension kicks in, so finally she'll be able to get some pension benefits. Her stock investments, she had to wait for the calendar year. So she got to let that pension hit so she can get her pension, for her years in service. So, she ain't just going to leave immediately. She gonna get a little kickback. She also got some stock and some investments and some stuff that may have matured. So she wants to check out and clock out. But if you think Marjorie Taylor Greene is done with politics, baby, guess again. I think she's getting out of there to distance herself from the shit show of these midterms. I think that she doesn't want to be taking the L and she's knowing to hold it and fold it. She's being very strategic. I think she's getting ready to run for president. I think she's considering a presidential run. I could be wrong. Things could change. But I think she's gearing up to run for president. I think she realizes that she can't really do all of that while also being in this administration, because people are going to start questioning her politics and they're going to also judge her by association. So if she gets herself out of the fray, that could create a new opportunity for her to rebrand herself, because she's on a rebranding mission. I mean, she's been making lots of interviews, trying to bring the country together, trying to, separate herself from Trump, which, he's been coming for her, of course. But she's really, I thought this was ballsy, but I always tell people the trash will always take itself out. I'm not fully buying her energy. I think that she's doing what a lot of Republicans are doing right now, which is that they're all trying to reimagine what it looks like to leave the Trump administration. I think they're all trying to figure out what it looks like, because it's happening sooner than later. And I also think that because Trump is not giving them any real gains with his presidency, I think that's part of the issue why there is so much backbiting, I would argue. Because a lot of them are just he about to be gone. And he's also doing things that's screwing up our futures. Because a lot of these people they plan to run for re-election. Some of these people got Senate seats. A couple of them might have presidential aspirations or other things down the line. Maybe they want to be a running mate for whoever is the nominee. All those things considered, a lot of them got to start thinking about what's next. And Trump isn't it for them. So I definitely think that MAGA is turning their back on him. I think Republicans are. I think it's a very telltale sign. Because Marjorie Taylor Greene speaking out the way she's been speaking out lately, it's not going to look good for him. He's trying to call her all these names. He out here calling reporters piggy and, but I think that's getting played out. I think everybody's getting played out with that. So how does he make his next big stunt? What is his new way of trying to keep himself the new conversation? What is the new playbook? What is it? What can he possibly do that can change the conversation behind his predictability? And then enters Zohran Mamdani. Yes, that press conference with the mayor-elect of New York City and President Trump really put this in a level of what the fuck and a complete 180. And it became clear to me that Trump was looking for a major pivot. Not a pivot in, I don't know, I don't know how he was going to address this cost raising shit, but a part of him wanting to reshift how he was being perceived. And I think that was very telling. This interest in, oh look, I can fake it. I can be different. And I think he's learning from Marjorie Taylor Greene, which, mind you, a lot of people are not buying, right? For example, Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett, she doesn't take her seriously one bit. And let me be very clear. I'm not falling for the rhetoric of Marjorie Taylor Greene as well. I think there is something sus and sinister, or maybe just a little bit of cowardice, right? It's more of, oh, I see the team is losing. Let me go ahead and act like I got some sense. But, listen, does a leopard or a zebra change their stripes? I don't think so. Leopard change their spots, zebra stripes. You get what I'm saying. I don't think so. I don't think a tiger changes their stripes. I don't think that a cheetah changes their spots. I don't. I find it to be quite telling that after all these years, this woman now understands the importance of civility. Nah. And Jasmine Crockett made a good point. She did an interview recently with Jake Tapper and said pretty much, this woman can't even handle this world with Trump within a week, but Jasmine Crockett's been experiencing it for over a year now. This is the shit. And now all of a sudden people are so concerned about how Trump could be hostile to, colleagues and others. But it was like, he's been doing this shit to so many other black women in politics, those who are elected, those who aren't. And everyone let him slide. And so all of a sudden, Marjorie Taylor Greene, it's like a big shocker. What? Just because of the fact that she's a Republican, a fellow Republican? I mean, he did to Liz Cheney. But it's funny that when Liz Cheney and Marjorie Taylor Greene calls it out, they're given this level of heightened security and safety and, all these other factors. And notice that they all leave prematurely from their seats. Liz Cheney was in many ways pushed out, and Marjorie is taking herself out before she can see what happens to her future. So it's some things to recognize here. There's some big things to recognize. But back to Mamdani. Something's up, right? I watched the press conference. I kind of had this like eerie movie where you ever seen Aladdin and you see Jafar and you see the Sultan, and there seems to be this like sorcery happening here. I'm just trying to figure out, because it was so bizarre to watch. Like Mamdani sitting there with a smile, him and Trump just act like things are good. Trump is like really, really super casual and friendly to him. Like in a way that's like, yo, you would have thought that they were on the same. I mean, he's nicer to him than J.D. Vance. You would have thought that was the vice president in the room. I was very confused. I mean, this man ran an entire, campaign attacking not only the emotional, spiritual, political. I mean, he came after Trump on so many levels. I mean, he was probably one of the loudest national voices in this last election cycle that really took Trump to task. And here he is in the room, very, chill with a white supremacist and a fascist. Like, this is a man he's accused. He's very like, hey, we're here. I don't know how to read that. People have tried to frame it like it's some Jedi mind trick swag that Zohran has this charm. That's, you know what, y'all, listen, I'm going to need y'all to stop infantilizing elected officials. I don't give a fuck. This stand culture shit, y'all better wake up. Y'all better wake up, because the stuff that y'all let non-black people get away with in politics is baffling to me. Because if Mamdani was black, y'all would have called him Van Jones. But when Mamdani is who he is, right, y'all get to play there might be something deeper here. Okay. That is yet to be seen. I'm not saying he's capitulating to Trump. That's not what I'm trying to imply. I'm just saying that the vibe was a little, the vibe was a little off for me. I'm not saying that he needed to come in there knucking and bucking. I'm not saying that either. Clearly, that is not what I would advise any person, black, Muslim, Arab, whatever. I would never advise anyone of color. We'll go there, we'll say that, to do that, right? But at the same time, have that Westmore energy for Trump. See, that's the recommendation I would have. Like the way that Westmore holds it down in the presence of Trump, that's the way I would like to see Mamdani had displayed. It was just too, I don't know. It just wasn't, it was given a little too glove hands. Both of them. Trump surprised me because I was more in the sense of like, look, one could argue Mamdani's very young. He's my age. We're both 34. Maybe you're not trying to be as aggressive. I understand. A little too soft for me because, listen, I've been in rooms with people that are powerful elected officials, and I kept a straight face, and I kept a certain demeanor that wasn't giving a fuck you, but it wasn't necessarily giving a, hey. It was a balance. I just felt like it was a little too soft. And Trump, I was like, normally Trump like to drag people. So I was like, man, you done had opportunities where you was in the room with people and then called them all kind of names. You had just called a reporter piggy, and she has not even come with you with energy. But this is what I tell people. There's a lesson to be learned from all of this, which is a lesson I've learned throughout my career. People recognizes respect. I will say that there has been many rooms I've walked in, and there's been people that talked a lot of shit about me behind my back or have said very nasty, disrespectful things in settings that I was not present. But when I walk in a room, that energy is never the same. People don't ever come to me with the ways in which they show up to other people. Because power recognizes power. And so for what it was worth, I think Trump recognizes that Mamdani ain't nothing to play with. Because after all of the bows and arrows that were thrown from the left and the right on all sides, nobody was touching him in this election. I'm not going to say he's the king of New York City, but he's a boss now. He's the new, I guess arguably he would be the new king of New York. And Trump recognizes that. And so I think there's a part of Trump that wants to, be in the mindset of, you know what? Well played. You keep your enemies, you keep your friends close, you keep your enemies closer. So maybe this is a situation where this was Trump looking at Mamdani like, I see you. Wouldn't want to be you per se, but I see you. And he recognizes, let me not come at this the way people think I am, because I'm dealing with something different. So whereas that coward of a congressman, Hakeem Jeffries, just embarrassing on so many fronts, but he want to put out a letter condemning socialism right when Mamdani walk up in there trying to continue to placate. Trump like, what's up? Y'all got to play you Democrats got to play a new playbook. Y'all, the Democrats that continue to attack Mamdani, let it go. He won. What are y'all doing? It's just whack. Because Trump like, look, if you can't beat them, join them. Now, I don't think they're going to be doing all of that, but I do think Trump is going to recognize power. I have at least noticed over the years that Trump does not speak about Obama in a certain way. He throws his shots, but the way that he had dragged out and dogged out Hillary, he never did that with Obama, only in 2012, but that was before Obama got reelected. He's always had a thing. But there's a level in a way in which he don't come at Obama the same way that he does Hillary or other women, but also other men. Like I just noticed there are certain people he knows who to play with, who not. He don't take Jasmine Crockett seriously. He doesn't think Jasmine Crockett is a real threat. He knows that he put Marjorie Taylor Greene on, so that's why he dragging her up and down, because he's like, look, I put you on. So he don't take her seriously. But I've noticed a pattern with who Trump chooses to buck at and who he chooses not to. Mamdani is one of those people. I think he puts him in the I see you kind of thing. It's not to say that he has not insulted this man, but there's a dynamic there. And I've noticed it through over the years of who he chooses to really zoom in on and who he don't. He was obsessed with Obama because he wanted to be Obama. Like, there's aspects of him. And I think with Mamdani, I mean, he's at his end of his political career. Trump is at the end of his political career, y'all. Let's just call it a thing. I don't think a third term is coming. I don't think the man wants a third term. I don't even know if he'll... Anyway, there won't be a third term, right? I know that for sure. The Constitution will remain intact when it comes to that. However, I do think that he recognizes a shifting. There is going to be a massive generational shift not only in the Democratic Party, but in all political parties, specifically the GOP and the Democratic Party. Both of these parties are going to have a seismic generational shift. Millennials, stand up. It's our time. It's our time. Millennials, we're coming through. Gen X, y'all weren't strong enough. Baby, it's time. The millennials are coming. We're coming. We might even take the White House, but we not so much. But these Senate seats, these congressional seats, we're coming. We're coming. Millennials, it's our time. Tap in, lock in. We're coming. We're coming. It's our season. That's what that's telling me. There's a lot of things happening right now in the universe, but what I'm seeing right now is that generational shift is picking up. It was supposed to be for you Gen Xers. I know. Kamala was supposed to be that for you all, but there's something telling me that y'all might get skipped when it comes to the White House. Y'all might get skipped. There's a strong chance that y'all might get skipped in this larger conversation. It's not looking like it's going to be y'all time. It might, I don't know. Because J.D. Vance is a millennial. Now, look, Josh Shapiro trying to hold it down for you Gen Xers. He's trying to hold it down for y'all. Westmore too, but I don't think Westmore, I don't know about Westmore running for president. But, I mean, I would like him to. If I was to vote for a Gen Xer of my choice, it would be Westmore. It really would be. But I'm going to have to vote for whoever's blue at this point because I can't vote for a Republican. I'm sorry. I can't do it. I can't do it. I can't. I don't. Right now, I can't do it. I'm just being real with you. But listen, millennials are shaking the table because we got millennials being we got millennial mayor in New York City now. So we've already gotten to the major American city portion. Houston, LA, we got to wait a little bit longer. But are we going to get millennial governors? It might happen. We might get to a millennial governor soon. Of a major, like we get it. We're making some inroads. Millennials, we're making some inroads. But I feel like in the next, what are we at now? 2 years, 2 to 4 years. These next 4 years, from now to 2030, we're going to get there. We're going to get there. And it's going to be about time. I think we're skipping the Gen Xers. I think the Gen Xers, everybody's like, look, y'all just play the middle too much. Y'all do. Y'all play the middle too much. Y'all play the middle too much in so many different things. Don't get me started. Y'all not about that life. Millennials are. Gen Z is a little too hot, but they got some fight in them. But Gen X, I think you guys are just so much straddling the fence that generationally we just like, look, y'all want to be everything for everybody. We need somebody to pick sides. Boomers, they're the richer generation apparently. Them baby boomers, they know how to pick a side and stay there. It might not be the right side often, but they are picking a side. Millennials know how to hold feet to fire too. But you Gen Xers, y'all just want to be in between too much. It's a yes, no, maybe so. It's a today I'll do this, tomorrow I'll do that. It's just too much up and down with y'all. But the millennials, we're defiant. And I think people want that. People want that type of polarization in policies. They say they don't, but they do. When you look at the type of people that successfully win elections, it's always people like to go with the farthest end, and then when things get a little too wild, y'all might go in the middle. But most people want people to have that clear-cut distinction, boldness, boldness, dynamic energy. People that's going to stand 10 toes down, basically. That's just where we are. That's just where we are. But I'm looking at these changes. I'm seeing what's happening right now. If we look at what's happening even with the Democrats with their congressional influences, that Kai Ossie, Kai Ossie, who is trying to run against Hakeem Jeffries. I don't know if y'all heard this, but apparently the Democratic Socialists of America, DSA, they're not really feeling him making that run. And that was after Mamdani already said he wasn't going to support that. Because a lot of people are saying they want to keep Hakeem Jeffries there right now. And to challenge him right now just don't seem politically astute. There needs to be a unifying right now. And I'm shocked that DSA is not supporting Kai, because they normally like to be the chaos agents, but they're like, they're standing down. They're not, their leader, right? The leader, I mean, not like their political leader, right? And let me make sure I make this clear, because I don't want people to misquote this. So I'm not saying that Zohran Mamdani is the leader of DSA. But because of the fact that he's one of the highest ranking members in political power right now, he is the face of it in many ways. But he's not leading the actual party itself. But he is a rising face and leader of their successes, right? Because DSA has taken a couple of L's. But in seeing this man who's a member of the Democratic Socialists of America party, to see him be able to, integrate into the Democratic Party, but also carry those views and values, he is a star of DSA. Kai Ossie is as well, right? But, at the same time, they know when to hold it and when to fold it. I think they just don't think this is a good look for them right now. So that is a big deal. That is a big deal. That's something to know. Yeah. Mm, 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 mm. So I don't know what his future is. I don't know if he's going to end up challenging Hakeem Jeffries. Hakeem will get through for another year. I think they just don't want to have that fighting. All the money and resources that's going to be wasted to keep Hakeem Jeffries in office, I think they don't want to waste that money on that, right? I think they're just like, look, why are we going to drain money out the Democratic Party when we need to build these alliances and relationships? Hakeem Jeffries has definitely been a difficult man when it came to Zohran. And, look, he will have to deal with that another time. But right now, I think it's just important to a certain extent that I know people want to seek revenge, but before you can seek revenge, focus the revenge on the major players. There's too much to fry right now. There's bigger fish to fry right now. And I think, the progressives, you all have gotten a win. You're the cat with the cream. Stop licking yourself too long that you end up hurting yourself. This is what the progressives do, right? Even Democrats as a whole, right? They'll get a win and they think that win means they can waste their energy fighting each other again. Please don't do that right now. Let's get through the midterms. And then after the midterms, let's revisit, what it looked like. Maybe some people might retire. Maybe some people won't run for re-election come 2028, but there'll be a bigger coalition to be done. I see something building up. Okay, I see what AOC trying to do. I see that there are some people getting it ready for 2028, but right now they're not going to let the fights happen. Even AOC said, look, don't challenge Jeffries right now. So there's probably some deal or understanding being done right now for why they're doing that. Like there's might be an understanding between Mamdani, because it seems like all the New York progressives, with the exceptions of Kai, but a lot of them are coming together being like, let's get to the midterms. And I support that. I think that it makes sense right now for everybody, specifically Democrats, to really focus on the midterms, because there could be a straight up blue tsunami. Not a wave, a tsunami. There could really be a situation that the rate at which Trump is going, the Epstein files, all this shit that's coming out, I really think a massive blue wave can take place to the point that it's a tsunami. I don't see anybody red winning any gains. The Democrats are set to take back the House, and they can take back the House in such a way that even the gains made from there can get them to a place of 2028 where it will be hard for even Republicans to reclaim it back, because if the Democrats even sweep 2028, they could take back the Senate potentially. But we got to pay attention to these gains. We got to pay attention, because 2028, you got Fetterman that's up for re-election. Not gonna say that. I gotta be not gonna say that. Not gonna say that too soon, Ernest. Too soon. Don't say it. Y'all know what I might have. I don't know. Maybe But if he, I'm not going to say that. We're not saying that. Whatever I was going to say, I'm not going to say it, because to say that is to say something else that I don't want to say, and I don't want people to know that I would say it. So I'm not going to say anything on that. We're going to move on. So there's a lot of seats up for re-election. There's a lot of people that's also not running for re-election. So there's a lot of open doors for primaries and open races and seats. And so there's a lot that's happening right now. And we're going to pay attention to that race. We're going to pay attention to all of these races. But there's a lot of change happening right now in the Democratic Party and across politics in general. But let's get into the media. There's been some shifts happening in the media landscape. I feel like every week there's some new crazy story about AI, but I have some news about Meta. What's going on with Meta? Because Meta, they think they're slick, but Meta is dealing with some interesting charges being said about them right now. Some of this is not that surprising, to be honest. So I don't want to be too dramatic, but people have been very critical about the fact that Meta has not been very transparent about some of their social media harms and risks. They were apparently made aware of some of these issues, and they did not speak on it at all.
The Canyons is
so there was a lot of people who was, raising, eyebrows about some of what was happening on that side of things. Gonna get into some of that here. Because it is a concern. So there is a U.S. court filing that has been done, and there's accusations that Meta, which is the company that owns WhatsApp, Instagram, and of course Facebook, buried casual evidence of social media harm. And that was reported in Reuters. Plaintiffs have alleged that Meta hid product risks from users and authorities. There's also other accusations that Meta is accused of ineffective youth safety features and prioritizing growth over safety. There's also, Meta opposed the unsealing of internal documents in court. Meta allegedly ignored valid research findings on mental health impacts. TikTok allegedly influenced the national PTA to publicly support its safety claims. There's a lot. There is a lot. Okay, Reuters, which is a very credible news source, had said that Meta shut down internal research into the mental health effects of Facebook after finding casual evidence that its products harmed users' mental health. And this was according to an unredacted filing in a lawsuit by U.S. school districts against Meta and other social media platforms. So not just Facebook and Meta, but also TikTok was in there. This is a 2020 research project code named Project Mercury. Okay. Meta scientists worked with survey firm Nielsen to gauge the effect of quote unquote deactivating Facebook. And this is according to Meta documents obtained via discovery. This is being reported by Reuters. To the company's disappointment, quote, people who stopped using Facebook for a week reported lower feelings of depression, anxiety, loneliness, and social comparison, internal documents said. So rather than publishing those findings or pursuing additional research, the filing states, Meta called off further work and internally declared that the negative study findings were tainted by quote unquote the existing media narrative around the company. Privately, however, a staffer insists that the conclusions of the research were valid. Yeah, it's not looking good. It's not looking good, y'all. It's not looking good. Accountability, where? Fact-finding, where? What's going on? So there's some serious logistical problems here. Some ethical issues. I can't say I'm surprised, but I've seen other things. But this is what we're dealing with. I'm not really on Facebook like that, like I used to be honest, but a lot of this social media stuff, I treat it as a tool. I use it to promote things and I move on. You know what I mean? Like I try not to get too codependent on any of that shit, to be honest. But it seems like there's a good reason why. So this is a media topic, several media things. First off, a lot of you all saw that I met Consciously at the Black Male Educators Convention or conference that was in Philly. Consciously is a social media influencer, but he uses his social media for good. He talks about a lot of conscious issues impacting the Black community. He is very progressive in his viewpoints, and he's very unapologetically himself. He's built a massive platform, and I got a chance to meet him in person. He's been on Olay and Friends, but we haven't shared a stage together. But he was at this conference in Philly for the weekend. So if you saw him on his social media promoting historic Black historical landmarks and places, yes, I got a chance to get to meet him in person. Fun fact, we live in the same neighborhood in Houston currently. Like, he doesn't live too far from my family's house and whatnot. Like we're literally like neighbors. I won't tell where exactly, but we're like neighbors. And I didn't even realize that he lives that far from me. So when I go back home, we were like, oh, let's catch up or whatever. Let's but yeah, it's a small world. But yeah, he lives in Houston. And not too far from me, actually. It's so wild. It's like, wait a minute, we're neighbors. Well, I'm not. It's my mama's house, but we're neighbors. But no, it was just great to get a chance to meet him in person and his work. He's very, he's just really good. I mean, he's one of those like straight Black men who speak out against homophobia and transphobia. And he uses his platform to really create a very, he's decent, like really decent, as the Philly kids say. But like, there's people that are, it's not that many like straight Black guys that are using these platforms in ways that are not only just accepting but affirming people of difference. And he really do that. Like, he speaks up for Black women, which shouldn't even feel like a noble thing. But like, there's a lot of these influencers and people like the Joe Buddens and others that have these platforms that either are silent on these issues because they feel like it's none of their business, even though it is. It's all of our business. We should all be supporting Black folks and each other, no matter what our sexual orientation and gender identity is. We should all be affirming each other and respecting each other, right? He does that work. But a lot of folks that are in the same identity as him don't. And so I will say, meeting him in person and seeing him, he is one of the real ones that actually, it's just not only for camera and clicks. It's not only when the cameras are rolling or when he's on the screen, because there's a lot of these people that have a personality that they don't have in real life. No shade. There are some people that they're one way on Instagram and on Facebook or TikTok and whatever, but then you meet them in person and they're a whole different person. Okay. Angela Rye. Oops, I didn't say that. Charlamagne the God. Roland Martin. I don't know what. All I'm saying, I wasn't saying any names in particular. Maybe I was. I don't know. But there are some people that they're not who they are online. I feel like when people meet me in person, baby, I'm the same, honey. I'm probably a lot more friendlier. I feel like I'm very, very friendly because I'm not in an environment which calls me, like when people meet me, they see me at like galas or events or like social events and they're like, oh, you're so nice. So I'm like, yeah, because I'm not on the job. I'm on the clock. Like, I'm with my people. They be like, oh, you're so nice. Like, I'm not coming in like militant minded, but like my politics and my ideas and my respect for people remains intact. I think that's funny. That's the one thing I do here. People always, see me at these social events and I'll be like, oh, you just see so much friendly. I'm like, yeah, but it's also because I'm not in a room with a bunch of elected officials. It's fake. Now, if you catch me at a press conference, you might see me in my element, you might see me in this environment and wow. But like, if you catch me at a gala with a glass of champagne in my hand, why would I have a mug on? I don't know. I don't, like, I don't know. There's some people that I feel like are always acting. Now, see, I'm not acting, I am who I am in the place that I am. I'm going to always have a nice face, though. The face is always going to be, the skin is always going to be flawed. Like, I don't think you have to, listen. Ooh, do I want to be pet? No, I'm not. I'm going to not go there because I'm going to digress too long. I will just say this. There are some people that are notable folks that I feel like keeps the same type of demeanor and personality no matter where they go, and it's almost like it's a caricature of themselves. I will say that. I don't need to name any names. I'm just going to just say that there are some people that no matter where they are, they could be at a bar, they could be at a party, they could be at a activism rally, but no matter where they go, they have a certain type of persona that they want to always have no matter where they go. And it's almost characteristic because it doesn't require it. Like, it doesn't require them to be stern and, whatever they want to be, but it doesn't require them to act like that in certain settings. It's almost like, again, like a character. It's like getting a Disney character and they're always on. You know what I mean? I just feel like I'm a human, so I'm going to smile. I'm going to be silly. I'm going to joke. I'm going to get a little tipsy. I'm going to have fun where I'm at. I'm going to be where I am when where it recalls it, right? If we're at a gala and we're being celebratory, let's have fun. Let's have a good time. I went to an event recently and there was this person that was there, and I was there celebrating my friend. I'm having a great glass of really good champagne, and I'm having a good time. We're cracking jokes. We're talking about movies. I'm just having a good time. And this person comes to me and is like, they want to bring up the mayor. I'm like, I don't want to talk about her. I don't. I'm not getting paid to. I just, it's not where I want. I don't want to have a deep conversation about the mayor. Most of my friends will tell you that when I am out and I'm silly as hell. I'm silly. I'm a comedian. I will say this. I did not entertain this until recently, but I will say that honestly, in my top 5 jobs that I would take if I was not doing what I'm currently doing, I think comedian would be one of them. I think I have realized, like, I am actually funny. And I don't even try to be. Like, sometimes I'm just myself, but people find it funny. And I do think I have a sense of humor. And I didn't realize how funny I was until recently, because I ended up cracking myself up saying something. Not on this show, but it was at another function I was at, and I was just like, yo, that was really funny. Like, I even cracked myself up, but I don't know. Like, I can make a joke and I'm really timely with it, but it's just who I am. And I think it's like my writer sense of me. Like, I don't know. But no, I think comedy would be a thing. But when I'm with my friends, I'm at an event where the vibe is really light and everything is really upbeat. Like, I'm just there. I'm matching that moment, but there's always people that want you to be, I don't know. Some people just expect something from me that sometimes, like, okay, I am that person, but not here. Like, we're at a gala, we're drinking. Like, I don't want to talk about politics and like, don't do that. Like, have fun, like, relax. But there are some people that want to be like Dr. King at everything. It's like, give us a sermon. Nah, sometimes I have a soliloquy for you. I don't have a sermon for you. I have a soliloquy. Sometimes I just have a joke for you. Sometimes I'm not on that type of time, But I think some people just don't know, when to be on and when to be off. Like, for example, like, I was at the Luminary Gala this weekend, and Tarana Burke, who is the creator of Me Too, an incredible activist and just such a thoughtful woman, right? She was there at the gala. She loves us in Philly. And I just love, like, the first time I met her, I was like I was a little bit of a fangirl. But the next time I saw her, which I hadn't seen her in like 2 years in person, but I was like, hey, she's like, hi, how you doing? Like, she remembered me and everything. And we was just talking about random shit. It wasn't even anything crazy. It was just casual about life and things. And I'm very grateful that I can be able to say, oh yeah, I'm at an event. But like, people are people. And I've recognized, I guess I have a little bit of notoriety. I'm somebody. I don't let that get to my head too much, but I do recognize it though. Let me be clear. I'm not one of these people that's like, I'm just like you. I'm an everyday person. I'm not going to lie to y'all. We're not going to do that either. Because some people do that shit too. And that's too much. But I don't drink the Kool-Aid of being like, don't come to me unless I'm not that either. I think there's a balance of recognizing that, I do carry a level of significance in public space. And I'm not going to deny that, because that's just playing in people's face, right? But at the same time, I'm also someone who don't take myself that seriously, that I can't have fun, that I can't just relax and enjoy myself either. I think there's a balance, So I'm not immature, but I'm also not super intense either. Especially if I'm in a space of like, socializing. I'm going to drink. I'm going to have a good time. I'm going to, crack jokes. I'm going to be mindful. I'm going to be respectful, but I'm going to be cool. And I think there's a place for that. Like, I don't, I want to be. But there's some people that I feel like just don't know how to relax. Like, they're just so, I don't know. Like, they're not the kind of person I want to party with. I won't name any names. I'm not going to do that tonight. I'm not going to do this today. I'm not going to do it this morning. I'm not going to do it on the show. One day you'll get that episode, but you're not going to get that episode here. I'm not going to do it. But there's some people, y'all, that's like such assholes. Like, it's like, damn, you're just like, oh my God. Like, I no matter how much I'm going to always just be, I'm just who I am. I am. I do not want to be a pretentious asshole. I don't want to be that person. Now, I will say, sometimes I'm at certain functions and there are people who like to play in your face. And there are times where I will prop up a little bit and be like, wait a minute now. And I've had some people, not too many, when I was younger, this would happen, but not now. But I used to have some people that they'll catch me out at an event or something and they will play with me. And I think that because I will say the one beautiful thing about getting older, and I love that for me, is a beautiful thing to get older and get wiser. I don't know why some of these like Robert Townsend, let me tell you something. That's a man who loves his age and is bracing himself and is wise, right? But one thing I will say, the one thing that I do like about getting older is that I get less and less people playing with me in my face. Now, people play with me in other places, but they don't play with me as much in my face anymore. And I will say there's a levelness of grownness and also my ability to stand up for myself in a public setting much older. Because let me tell you something, 10 years ago, even fucking 5 years ago, people would try to little boy me in a way that I felt like, well, again, I was still a grown-ass man, but people would still play. And I don't get as much as that now. Like most people back the fuck up. You always gonna get a couple of people that will still do it. Like I had one person, it was like a year ago, I was at an event and I was just being chill. And this guy comes in, this dude, and he's like, oh, this is the most hated, most, controversial, infamous Ernest Owens. And I was like, really? We gotta do all that? And I really said it like that. I was like, I don't know about that's a lot. That's a lot. You could, most hated. Like, I don't. Do we gotta do it like that, or could we just be like, this is a man around town? I don't know. I'm just mindful about how I introduce people and how I also engage people, especially people I don't know, right? Like, I don't actually personally know. This person does not know me. Clearly, they know of me, but it's like, be mindful, be considerate. Like I'm always that way when I meet people, especially people I don't know. I'm always like, hi, it's nice to meet you. I'm a huge fan. Like I don't know, like etiquette, even if there are things that I may not personally agree with them about on some aspects. Like I hate when people do this thing when they meet a person and be like, although I don't agree with everything you write and say, I do. Like who talks like that? That just annoys the fuck out of me because it's weird. Like I'm never gonna go up to an elected official and be like, although I don't agree on all of your policies, no. Like you just go up and say, hi, it's nice to meet you, congressperson, senator, whomever, right? And if you don't want to talk to them, you don't talk to them. There's some people that are elected officials that I absolutely do not have a good relationship with. And so I might see them in a room and say, hello, good afternoon, and keep it moving. I'm not going to be fake. I'm not going to sit up and be like, how you been, girl, blah, blah, blah. No, I'm not going to be fake. But I do, and I grew up in the South. There's a level of, I guess you can say, Southern hospitality I'm going to have. What that means is that I'm not going to be running away from people in a public setting. We don't do that. Everybody deserves a good evening, a good morning, a hello. And then, you go about your way. I think it's very rude when a person goes out their way to be in a public setting. Now, unless this person, no, but I don't know. I don't do that. Like, listen, I saw Governor Shapiro, and mind you, that governor can't stand me. But when he sees me, we saw each other in the room, and he came up to me, said, hey, good afternoon, Mr. Owens and whatever. I said, how you doing, Governor? Good afternoon, Governor. Shake his hand. It's cool. Does that mean we besties? Does that mean that man don't like me? No. But it's just a level of decorum and respect. And that's a governor, I will say about Shapiro, is that man is going to be respectful. He better be. If you're going to raise the flag for Charlie Kirk, you can definitely say hello to Ernest Owens. Okay? It ain't that deep. Just saying. Okay? You know, I'm just saying. Because I don't play all that. I don't play that. We all gonna be respectful. Same thing with Mayor Parker. Mayor Parker and I, look, her administration is some people in there I don't care much for, but there's some people in there that I think are decent, right? The mayor, look, we gonna have our disagreements about things, but it's always respect. I will say I don't do that whole, ain't no running, ducking, and dodging. We don't do that over here. But there are some people that think they're important that are not that important, child, but they be in rooms and they act like they can't how many times you gonna walk past a person or be right in their dead smack in their face and not say good afternoon, good morning, whatever? You know a person who do that a lot? Okay, I'm gonna name names. I'm gonna name one name. And we're gonna move on. Larry Krasner. I'm just gonna leave it at that. Larry Krasner's funny acting. And it's these white men sometimes that don't know how to act, because I just feel like when you see people in a room, you can say good afternoon, you can say hello. Keep it cordial. But all that, like, you're going to act like you don't see the person in the room and y'all literally right next to each other. Like, that's that funny. Like, come on. Because I done seen you do it for people that's far worse. And I find it a little bit microaggressive, because I feel like, listen, the governor and I can have our disagreements about things, and he can do some funny shit behind closed doors. But when that man see me in a room, that man knows who it is, and I know who he is, right? The governor, I'm going to shake the governor's hand. I'm going to say good afternoon or whatever. The mayor, the same thing. I do that. I always think there should be a level of civility. And if it's a situation where you think the situation is really whatever, then maybe that's a different story. But some of these elected officials, they want to come up in these rooms and they see people and they want to act real funny, and that don't help them. It don't. We're gonna leave it right there. I named one name, okay? I wasn't supposed to even say all that, but it is Ernestly speaking. Okay? It is Ernestly speaking. So, moving along. This week in local politics, there's been a lot of chatter, right? There's been a lot of chatter, actually. I had, the Honorable State Representative Jordan Harris on the record, and we were talking a lot about this week in politics and things like that. But before we get to that, Roland Martin did an episode recently on Roland Martin Uncensored, and he talked about Mayor Sherrell Parker, switching up on DEI. It's gotten to be national news, like national news. It didn't hit the circuit, I mean, you all heard it here first on Ernestly Speaking, but now even Roland Martin is talking about it. He got some things to say about it. So it's traveling. It is traveling. It is traveling. And woo, I don't know. I don't know, y'all. We got the black press, man. People are feeling some type of way. Well, as you all know, a lot of you all said it, so I'm gonna stay consistent here. But a lot of you all called it. Okay. What I mean by called is a lot of you all spoke on this and said that, I guess you all told me that I called it with the press conference. But, he's been critical of the mayor. He's calling the equity cut, He's accusing the mayor. It got 23,000 views. It came out this week. He's getting views. But I want to talk about this real quick. First of all, I got my press badge. A lot of y'all know that already because y'all listened to my special edition episode. I knew that given the length of the episodes and things, I knew that was going to be a big factor in the conversation. So I didn't want to take up this episode to talk so much about. I feel like it deserves its own standalone episode because there are some people, y'all, that I know, not everybody, that only listen to my special edition episodes because they feel like my full length episodes are too long. And that's fine because we don't care because they don't get it. They're not, whatever. There are some people that I call the nosy listeners, and there are the noisy listeners. You all are the noisy listeners because y'all consistently bring the fire and the energy every week and listen to every episode. Y'all keep the show going, okay? Y'all the noisy listeners. Now, the nosy listeners are the people who only want to know one thing. So they specifically want to listen to one bit or one part. And the problem with them, with those nosy listeners, is that they never get the full context, because you all who listen weekly and religiously, which I appreciate, right? Y'all understand that these topics and these issues are thematic, right? It's never enough just to listen to one episode and think that you get the gist of the issue. And a lot of times, some of those nosy listeners that come on, and we like our nosy listeners because y'all still keep the streams and the downloads and keep us ranking on the charts. So we do appreciate y'all nosy asses. But the problem with y'all is that when you come up to me, I can tell the difference between a noisy listener and a nosy listener. A noisy listener says to me, Ernest, you called this a couple of episodes ago. I remember when you said, watch what happens, because you connect the dots. A noisy listener connects the dots. My good girl Sharon knows what I'm talking about. Sharon listening right now, she's like, She probably put her little clock and, fingers together, because this is one of those things that I say, that's a noisy listener. Now, my nosy listeners, y'all pop up, and I know the nosy listeners. The nosy listeners be like, I listen to your podcast. I say, oh, what you thought about it? And they go, oh, yeah, when you talked about the Roots Picnic, that was a special edition episode, child. Listen, you special edition episode listeners are nosy listeners, and I make it for y'all nosy asses. Now, my noisy listeners like the special edition episodes because it's a nice little snack in between the next episode, right? So it's a moosh boosh. It's a little piece that y'all can have before y'all get to the main course. A lot of people don't listen to a lot of folks that listen to the special edition episodes, they might skip the main course because they just want to listen to one part. That's fine. But the problem is, don't y'all bring y'all asses up to me at an event and go, or y'all see me and go, you forgot to talk about this and this and this. First of all, we've already discussed this on the podcast. So the special edition is to give you the snapshot of what happened in real time with a particular matter, okay? That's all I'm going to add. So we know that's y'all comprehension test. We know who's been listening, and we know who temporarily listens, and that's fine. I don't mind my nosy listeners, but don't come in with a bunch of questions when you only did part of the assignment. You don't get to, dictate and bogart and dominate the entire operations of things, okay? Because the noisy listeners get tired of you. See, the noisy listeners, they're the ones who come to class every week. They're paying attention to what's going on. They don't just show up when there's a special assignment or a pop quiz or a test. I have a couple of students that I consider my nosy listeners in class, where they come to class every so often, and then when there's a major assignment, then they want to chime in. They want to ask all these questions already been answered. Don't be that. So for my nosy listeners who did not know what happened with the badge, the press badge, all the things I'm talking about right now, first of all, anybody who's been listening to this podcast already knew what was going on with me getting press access in the city. This is not new breaking news. But because I decided to share it beyond the podcast, it was a shock to the rest of the world. Fine. Gotcha. And that's why we did a special edition episode, because I wanted them to have the full context so that whenever people wanted to know what was going on, rather than listen to the entire podcast, they can listen to that one episode and they can spread it. I've done special edition episodes in the past, as you all know. Roots Picnic was one of them. It was one of the most listened to episodes I've done of my entire podcast. I mean, it was a very viral blockbuster episode. And so that was done this year. Another episode that makes sense of that was Charlie Kirk. A lot of people just want to know what I thought about Charlie Kirk in his passing. That was a very unique experience. That got a special edition episode. Every time I go to the Grammys, I always do a special edition episode live from LA and Hollywood, just so that fans and people that want to know my take about Grammys week can just listen to all of that and be nosy for one episode. Normally my special edition episodes are roughly between an hour. They're normally an hour, or they might be maybe at the most 90 minutes. But most of my special edition episodes are very short. So they're like an hour. So people can get in and get out. It's a special. Another example of it was when I got ousted from NABJ. Another one of those long, very popular episodes that I did. that episode explained what happened. So when people ask me what happened in ABJ, I just give them that episode. Say, listen to this episode, child. Get your life. That's it. I can't. I'm not going to spend too much energy explaining what happened, right? But there, I do stuff like that. So those are the special edition episodes that requires that. But everything else, I feel like, it's enough as a segment, right? So if you want to know more about what happened with the press badge, if you didn't get a chance to listen to the episode, go listen to that special edition episode. It is before this episode in my collection. And you can listen to it and get your life and know all the details of who, what, where, and when, and how it went down. And by the way, for those who are still listening, Joe Grace, the comms director for the Park administration, has not given an apology. It's still up for him in regards to he still chooses to be petty and, be immature. So I just want y'all to know, because a lot of people, I know y'all want to update from the update, right? So I think some people was like, well, what was the reaction from City Council or City Hall and folks? Well, there wasn't much since the special edition episode recording. Some people are just standing, in their stubbornness, but there is still meetings on the table with other members of the park administration to bring in progress, not just for only myself, but for the Black press. So that is, I guess, the update from the update. But if you want to listen to more of that, please check into the special edition episode before this one. Now, back into the now. The executive order that the mayor gave earlier this week is focused on small business owners, local small business owners and businesses. It's not specified towards a racial identity or group, even though many people know that those who are going to be impacted the most will be largely Black and brown and women-owned businesses. However, it is for everybody, and hopefully resources will be given to those hit the hardest. The mayor says that diversity, equity, inclusion is not a policy, but it's not a law. It's more of I guess you could say it's a culture, it's a state of mind that should be something that should be legislated, but something that should be ingrained in every aspect of what they do. Hopefully that includes their press office in the future. But that's the argument for that. People feel like this is a kowtow, but they're arguing that they're respecting the law. And so that's what they're doing. They're respecting the law. Okay. I did go to the press conference. I did ask the mayor a question. I don't really feel like she asked my question. I talked more about that on the record with Ernest on WRD Radio. But my question was simple. And you all know I've been asking this. This is my $1 million question. I got that after the press conference. Shout to you all for noticing that literally what she did at that press conference is exactly what we knew she was going to do. Which she was going to lean heavy on law, right? The legality of this. That she was going to tout her previous record. And that it was going to be a level of defensiveness in the tone of the press conference. Bingo, that happened. So, listen, when you're around a certain people, you get familiar with their patterns and ways of doing things. This was no different. And as we also predicted, shout out to Councilmember Rulandall, the home initiative did not get voted on by City Council. It did die. Well, let me clarify. It didn't die permanently. But as far as a vote this year, it's not happening this year. They're going to vote on it next year, but it has been postponed for next year. So there's a lot that needs to be worked on. City Council and the park administration could not really hammer down an agreement on the direction of where the money was the first chunk of the money. So there's going to be, this money is going to be phased out. But there is $200 million currently up for discussion. And that $200 million is not they have not approved that funding just yet because they're still trying to debate on the first set of homes that needs to go out. And they're debating on the fact that those homes need to go out to the most vulnerable. City Council feels like the park administration has not done enough on that front to really help those who are the most in need. So that is what's up for debate right now, for those who did not know. Now, I do want to speak on and address some of the concerns, and this is what I talked to State Representative Jordan Harris about. He's not a member of City Council. Let me just make sure I clarify that. But there's been some really great points being raised that I think are strong. And that is because on Friday, there was a press conference in the mayor's chamber basically discussing this new abatement plan that took place. This abatement plan is in regards to a 20-year abatement that's going to, and this is going to help support the authority. So the Pennsylvania State Legislature has given the city the authority to establish this program, right? However, the program is not yet active as it requires final approval by Philadelphia City Council. That's something that we all should just make sure we know about, right? But the 20-year tax abatement is to boost abandoned properties. Now, Jordan Harris on my show made it clear that this is a cosign to support the program, but it is not necessarily an authorization on where the monies go, because that's what City Council has to do. City Council has to approve the programming. But what you all need to know is that the state has gave a thumbs up to the home initiative that allows for the city to be able to really diversify its outreach. So these abatements is going to allow us a 20-year tax abatement that can be used as a tool that can help developers be able to specifically address abandoned city buildings and other nuisance properties and other abandoned areas that they can transform into residential properties. Now, they cannot use it for commercial. They have to use it for residential properties. So all of these abandoned city buildings and other eyesores and commercial properties that are like worn down, there is now a 20-year tax abatement that can be now at the arsenal, right? At the tool chest that the city can now use to incentivize developers to now be able to transform those abandoned properties into residential properties. This is a part of the mayor's home initiative, right? Here's the problem. Here's the debate. Now, Greg Holston, this is what he said. And I want you all to hear this. This is a very great point, and it has gotten some legs. Greg Holston said on Facebook, and he tagged me to this because he wanted me to see this, and I want to make sure y'all hear about this. State of Pennsylvania just approved a 20-year tax abatement for so-called, quote-unquote, affordable housing. But the affordability is based on the inflated 5-county area median income, also known as the AMI, not what people in Philadelphia actually earn. When you use a Philadelphia-only standard, real affordability means serving families earning below $35,000 a year. Those are the people in deep poverty who truly need housing. But the abatement allows developers to build units priced for people making $60,000 to $80,000, which is middle income in this city. So we're giving away 20 years of tax revenue to produce housing that is not affordable to the majority of Philadelphia renters. The AMI system has been flipped inside down, and the people in deepest need are being left behind. Whoa. So the city of Philadelphia saw its commercial values drop by $1 billion. And so this is an attempt for the mayor to change this. However, while the state supported these abatements, City Council is still up in arms about the home initiative. They cannot come to a consensus on how this money should be used. There are some major points of contention. See, the issue here now, and this is what is the meat of the debate, because there's been so many things being said. But I want to make it plain for you all, because I feel like the Park administration has not really been very specific or clear to what the point of contention is. The argument is affordable housing. What is affordable housing is being debated. There are people that are in city council and others that believe that affordable housing is addressing those below the poverty line according to the Philadelphia income model, which is $35,000. Because if the whole plan is for Philadelphians in Philadelphia, shouldn't we address the poverty line of Philadelphians in Philadelphia? Why are we talking about the statewide? Because we're not building homes all across Pennsylvania. We're building homes in Philadelphia. And so if we need to address who can get these houses, affordability means touching the people who are the most in need. Those are people that are making below $35,000. 60 to 80,000. If you're making homes for those people, that means the middle class or the upper middle class will benefit from those homes. So developers are getting more bang for their buck and making more money if they build homes for that type of people. But then that means that the whole argument for the home initiative is actually not going to be beneficial for those who need homes the most. Bingo! Eureka! That's why this shit couldn't pass this week. Because it seems like the Parker administration is not willing to budge yet on really making the home initiative be something for the people who need the homes the most. Got it. The developers don't want to put affordable housing for the hood. They're really not trying to build more homes for those who actually are home insecure. Got it. Because, listen, my household, okay, we're not homeowners. We can clearly, 60 to 80 is the middle class in Philadelphia. We're not in the middle class, clearly, according to Philadelphia medium standards. We are clearly more in the upper echelon than I would have thought. I mean, listen, I'm checking my privilege. I'm checking my wealth in the motherfucking conversation. I ain't got nothing to hold, okay? I ain't gonna fake the funk. Y'all see how I'm living. I'm not gonna sit up here and fake no funk. They're making homes for people like myself and Mr. Johnson. I don't want a home in Philadelphia. Not yet, at least. I don't want a home in Philadelphia. I don't want to be a homeowner in Philadelphia right now because I just don't right now. I just don't. Now, if this was Texas, I feel like I get more bang for my buck with the homes I want, right? And it's not about affordability. It's just about value. And I just don't think that the type of homes that I grew up in and the type of like land that I grew up in Texas and what I saw for upward mobility for myself, I just feel like even if you build more homes that I could get access to, I just think that the value of them, I know there could be more. I just don't feel comfortable dropping the money for the type of house. The type of house that I could get in Texas, where my family currently lives, and the type of house I would have to get in Philly, it would cost like 10 times that amount. You know what I'm saying? Like, listen, all I'm saying to y'all is that Cinco Ranch, okay? Cinco Ranch and Katy, the way in which, if you look at how much them homes cost and what you would get for those homes compared to these Philly properties, night and motherfucking day. I'm not impressed. So, yeah, that's why I personally, this is a first world problem, y'all. But I'm just saying, I just am not impressed personally with it. But I do know that there are some New York transplants that definitely would get more bang for their buck getting a house in Philadelphia compared to in New York City. So I think that what we're seeing right now is that we're seeing a shift. This mayor knows that New York transplants are coming to Philadelphia. These developers are trying to build homes for these New Yorkers. They say it's for Philadelphians. Sure. I'm just being a little cynical. Because if you're making homes for the 60 to 80,000 range or higher, then that means that you know that most of the Philadelphians in this city who don't make that average, right? That we know that below 35, we know what that medium is, then you're not actually making homes for them. So who is these homes for? These homes are for Jersey, New York transplants. These are for folks that are coming. This city is getting a lot of transplants coming, and these property values are going low. And so they're trying to fill that gap. And so this home plan is really a love letter for developers to really basically usher in the new middle class, which is not really Philadelphians or native Philadelphians or longtime Philadelphians. It's actually for these New York transplants. Because if they're trying to build that home for them, that is who they're looking for. They're trying to make this city more appealing to them. This is for developers. These are the people, y'all. I see what's going on here. I ain't stupid. Until this mayor fixes this home initiative to make it more accessible for that 35,000 and below folk to get these houses, get this access, stop calling it affordable homes. The home initiative is really not about affordable housing for lower income people. It's not. It's not. That's a piece of it. This is just about increasing housing for folks in general. But this affordability housing narrative needs to stop. This is housing for the upper middle class and for the wealthy. This is for them. This initiative, as it currently is for upper middle class and for the wealthy. That's what these homes are. These 30,000 units, most of them as of right now are going for them. It is not Richard Allen Project homes. It is not affordable housing homes. That is not that. That is not this. Most of the people in the community that can afford a house will still not be able to get a house. She's worried. She's more interested in those guaranteed workers, those salaried degree holding workers and folks, right? That is for people who have careers. It is not for people that have jobs. This housing initiative is not currently for those people. And there are members of the city council that know that. And that is why they're not in favor of this current plan. They support the funding of housing, but they're debating on who gets the housing right now. And that is the fight that's really happening right now. Jordan Harris and I, the state representative, the chairman, we had a back and forth, a heated back and forth. And let me be clear. It was not heated in the sense of we were butting heads, right? We had a very passionate debate about the issue at hand. Because I am a little cynical about this 20-year abatement, because even with the 10-year abatement, we continue to see these developers, like even in his backyard, he's the state rep in South Philly, Point Breeze is there. We have seen these people take advantage of the tax abatement not to do right by our people. What kind of housing are we talking about? What kind of residential property are we talking about? More high-end sky lounges and shit. Like, what are we talking about when we talk about development? Listen, I know what's happening. I know what's happening. I understand what the fight is. And they'll sit up here and act like it's a cute little debate on something else, but nah. We also talked in an interview that I had with Harris, was talking a lot about this big issue around the state funding. There is a lot of money going into public education in ways that were not in the past. And that's a good thing, right? I think an additional $200 million in new money. However, one issue that came up is supporting and funding community colleges. CCP is one of the major national community colleges in the country. Community College of Philadelphia, CCP. I talked to him about that funding, right? That there was a part of confusion because he said that there was a $15 million increase in funding for community colleges in Pennsylvania. However, I think what was confusing, and I think what was the issue with the fact checking, was that I had said that they have been flat funded since the 1980s. And he was saying, well, no, there was an increase. And what I meant to say is that they haven't gotten the highest amount of money that community colleges have received. They've gotten more money at a higher rate in the 1980s than they have gotten since. And so while there might have been some increase, the rate to which they've gotten more money, there was more money going out to them in the 80s than it has been since. But community college, the pot of money is just not getting to where it needs to be. Apparently, Shapiro wanted to give a little bit more money than what was given, but that wasn't met. But community colleges are so important right now, y'all. And I say this as a community college professor, but also looking at the trends. More people are going to community college before they go to four-year institutions and everywhere else. State Representative Harris kept talking about the Cheney CCP collaboration, which I think is a good one. However, this money that's going to the state school system, that is going to certain little, particular projects, while that is great, it does not address the overall need that community colleges need an increase of funding, because we are by nature doing DEI, even if DEI is not said. The majority of students that go to CCP's campus, the majority of students are Black. I believe 60% of CCP students are Black. It's a predominantly Black school. It's not an HBCU, but it is a predominantly Black and brown school. The majority of students there are Black, Latino, and Asian. So we cannot deny the funding and support that needs to happen for yes, HBCUs, but also community colleges, because a lot of these students are going there sometimes before they go to an HBCU, and sometimes when they don't stay at HBCU, they come to community college. So we need to talk about how to better fund those resources for them. And I'm optimistic that, some good things will come out of it. First of all, I'm very happy that we was able to have State Representative Jordan Harris on my show. If you want to listen to that episode, the link is in the bio. You can be able to check that episode out along with all of my episodes of On the Record with Ernest Owens on the special link in bio on the tab. And you can watch the live footage on WRD's Facebook page when it stays up. It stays up for a couple of days. So if you want to watch the live recording, you can. But the episodes are also recorded and you can see that history. And you can also see it on my website too. So all those episodes are available for you all to check out and listen to. So there's always receipts. But yeah. So this week's Ask Ernest, you all want to talk to me about Thanksgiving and the holiday season. We're entering that time of the year where people want to give out free food and canned goods and frozen turkeys and whatnot. And, everyone knows I do my annual reminder. And my annual reminder is a big one, right? Because this is also, this is also very important. I think a lot of people sleep on it. And we ignore this. We ignore these elements, right, of the season. There's a lot of people right now that want to give, and I'm not saying that their heart is not in the right place, but maybe their intentions might be different. But we're in the season of everyone out here, everyone out here doing something, right? So let me just say this. If you are listening to this podcast as I'm recording it, right, and you're listening to this episode, wherever you are, in Philadelphia or wherever in the United States of America, if you're listening to me right now and you got a frozen turkey in your hand and you're ready to give it away to somebody, please don't, because it is not going to be enough time for them to properly thaw that turkey out for them to enjoy it on Thanksgiving. This past weekend was really last minute, let me just be real with y'all, but it was the absolute last time that you could be able to give a frozen turkey out, have that turkey in the refrigerator and properly thawed in time for them to cook it for enjoyment on Thursday. If you are listening to this podcast right now, please stop giving out frozen turkeys. Stop it. Put it away. Or you know what? Save it for Christmas time if you want to give out some frozen turkeys for Christmas. But if you do, your last cutoff date to give those turkeys out, okay, is, let's say December 19th. Maybe I need to make y'all a holiday giveaway calendar on frozen foods, hams and turkeys, and because listen, you all think that I am petty, but I'm not being petty. I am being purposeful. I'm all about meaningful charity. I'm all about meaningful respect. And there's a lot of issues that I have around food insecurity. I support food insecurity. I do. I donate to local food pantries. I promote the resources on my timeline. I'm all about that life, okay? My frat brothers this weekend was giving out turkeys. I told my brother, I said, let me tell y'all something, frat. We need to give them turkeys out Saturday morning. Please do not give them out on Sunday. Please, please. They was like, wow, what you mean? I said, let me tell y'all something. First of all, let's do the math, right? Let me tell y'all, right? Let me break y'all down. If you got a 4-pound turkey, which most of y'all do not have a 4-pound turkey, it takes a day to thaw out 4 pounds a day, right? 8 pounds for 2 days, 12 pounds for 3 days, 16 pounds for 4 days, 20 pounds for 5 days. Most turkeys, y'all, it takes roughly, the average turkey, butterball turkey, let's just say, is around 16 to 20 pounds on average. Some other turkeys are a little bit smaller. Like I've heard of people getting 14-pound turkeys. But most turkeys Okay, like the nice ones that serve around 11 people, nice little decent size for a family, is around 16 to 20 pounds. So that's roughly 4 to 5 days worth of thawing. Now, if you are in a black household, you all know that you got to take that turkey out. You got to, the night before, you want to brine it, you want to marinate it, you want to put some things in it, So if Thanksgiving is on Thursday, let's do our math, okay? All day Saturday, all day Sunday, all day Monday, all day Tuesday, all day Wednesday. That's 5 days, okay? That turkey is ready to be thawed out. But see, we just don't thaw it out. We got to marinate it. So that's all day, right? So you got to put that baby in. It's thawed out Wednesday so you can be able to stuff it and do everything else. So when y'all were telling me, Ernest, why you was getting on their necks about the frozen turkey, it's because the average turkey takes around 4 to 5 days to thaw out. And black people and some of my Caucasians with a little bit of spice, you got to marinate the turkey overnight. So if you giving out a frozen turkey on a Monday, it's not going to be ready. And let me tell you why I care about this. Because the people who got money, the people that buy turkeys, the people that give out turkeys, the people that do that, when is y'all turkey thawing? If your turkey's in the fridge right now thawing, how dare you give a frozen turkey to somebody else and expect it to be ready by Thanksgiving? So I'm just coming from a space of dignity and respect. I wouldn't give something to somebody if I didn't think it has value. Where I came from and grew up, when I gave out canned goods, I gave out canned goods of vegetables that I would eat, brands that I would use. That's how I grew up. Green Giant, Desmond's, all the brands. Listen, there's nothing wrong with giving out Aldi and all that. But where I came from, when you gave out food and you was not government or a distributor, you gave people things that you would like and value. That's just how I grew up. Quality meant something. The dignified people with a really good, listen, and I'm all about food distribution and serving. I'm on team serve people hot meals for Thanksgiving. Because I also think it's very bizarre, and this is very inhumane. But why is there people, and I'm not going to name names because that's not what this is, but why are we giving food, home insecure people, folks that are transient, frozen turkeys, y'all? Y'all thought about that? Why are you all giving people who don't have actual independent housing, why are you all giving them frozen turkeys? There's a lack of humanity here. I'm just going to leave it at that. I'm not going to name names of people who did it. But if you are somebody that's out here giving frozen turkeys out to people that are in shelters, I got the Arthur fist. I'm gripping my fist. And I'm not going to name no names. But there's some people that I saw out here giving frozen turkeys out at homeless, like shelters and places. Why? They don't have a home. Where they going to put that turkey at? Just very bizarre. Bizarre. I'll just leave that bizarre for that. Let me educate y'all. Some of y'all. Because some of y'all get it. But some of y'all don't. And comments is not common. And if you are elected official, if you want to be elected official and you thirsty to try to get on somebody's ballot for something, let me school y'all real quick. You do food serving at those shelters. You give them hot meals at shelters. Okay? People who do not have a home, that is home insecure, do not have the means to cook an actual Thanksgiving dinner. So please do not give them frozen turkeys or thawed turkeys or any damn turkey. You give them a cooked turkey that you're going to carve and you're going to serve there. That's where you go. You go to soup kitchens and you serve them hot meals on Thanksgiving or before Thanksgiving, but you serve them actual cooked, prepared food. I want to say a duh, but I'm going to keep it cute. Now, frozen turkeys. You give the last day to give them out should be Saturday. Stop giving them out past Sunday unless they're a little bit small. If you got a little Cornish, little English, little hen, a little small, little hen or whatever like that, you can give that out because that can thaw in a couple of days. But don't you give out no big ass frozen butterball turkeys on no Sunday or no Monday because I'm judging you, and you should be judged. You should be ashamed of yourself because that shit will not thaw out. We're gonna talk about turkey bandits in a minute. Because I know what some of y'all thinking. We're going to talk about that in a minute. We're going to get to the turkey bandits in a minute. But let's be real here, right? Frozen turkeys, you could give those out at city council, if y'all want to give them out, certain locations, state rep, how, got their offices for families, that's fine. Because there are people who, with these grocery prices, there are some people that even though they do have a roof over their head and can make ends meet, they could use a financial incentive and they can use some relief. Because Thanksgiving prices are higher this year. And so anything can help. If you can give a turkey out to a family that is in need of one, by all means, it is a noble gesture. Now, shout out to State Representative Almond Brown for providing baskets. Because I feel like the turkey giveaway, in my opinion, is just getting played out. I feel like we need to be more intentional about distribution of food. And so shout out to State Representative Almond Brown for doing Thanksgiving baskets. Now, these baskets had not only a turkey and it came with a turkey, but it came with all the things you need to make a Thanksgiving meal and quality, okay? Stovetop, not just some random ass whatever. Quality, essentials where you can make a whole Thanksgiving meal and not have to break the bank. Shout out to him for doing that because that's how you address food insecurity in these communities. Like, give people the things, y'all. Like, y'all was like, Ernest, why don't you run for office? I can't do everything. I cannot do everything. But if I was elected official, I would be doing, when it comes to food distribution, I would be doing what Almond Brown is doing with that Breezy Mark. Say what you want about him or other shit, but leave him the fuck alone when it comes to that food. He is doing the work. He is doing it. He is really doing it. That's a man who grew up in poverty and he understands it. I am not going to take that away from him. I'm tired of y'all hating on this brother. When it comes to that food distribution, he knows what it looks like. He is out there giving people real food. Okay? Real food. Because some of y'all want to perform it. He's giving people real food. And he is giving it in a logical way. You can't give out nobody a turkey if the other thing. If people say they can't afford a turkey, 9 times out of 10, they probably can't afford the green beans and the yams, everything to go with it. Give people the food basket. Give them the things, y'all. Like, really. And there might be some people just need a turkey. Maybe. But, like, can we think about this in a more holistic, meaningful, humane way? Philadelphia is the second poorest major city in America. We are no longer the first. Houston is now the first. But Philly is the second now. We're not the poorest major city in America now. We are the second. But shit, there ain't no top. You don't want to be in the big three of that anyway. We got to do better when it comes to addressing this food insecurity stuff. Because it just gets annoying where everybody wants to do a turkey giveaway, but there's like no intention behind it. There's no actual coordination. Shout out to Sharif Street. He gave out like 40,000 turkeys, I think he was able to distribute. But again, there's got to be more intentionality on how we distribute this stuff. I'm more interested in providing meals. Yes, frozen turkeys, yeah, cute, whatever. But those baskets that Almond Brown was doing, right, that is the real impact, to provide a meal to those families, right? They're not necessarily in need of a hot meal on Thanksgiving Day for a soup kitchen situation, but we got to be smart on when we do this, right? Stop giving out frozen turkeys in homeless shelters. And these are not elected officials who are doing this, but some of you want to be state reps. Some of you all who just so pressed to get a fucking photo op. You look stupid doing that. There's a couple of you all who did it, and I'm just like, stop it. It's so insincere. It is so tone deaf. It is so performative. And it's like, what the fuck? And let me also add this. because this is also important. A lot of people want to do the turkey distributions and they say, oh, well, some people, they don't have to eat the turkey on Thanksgiving. They can do whatever. Well, then what is the point? Are you just giving it out just to give it out? Well, if that's the case, why give them a turkey then? Why not give actual food that they can eat any other time? Why even force them to eat a big ass turkey then? If the point is not to give the turkey out for Thanksgiving and you just want to give out turkeys, why not give out other food then? So that it would not be awkward that somebody has to wait until, I don't know, November 30th to eat the turkey. If you actually want them to have the experience and you actually are coming from a place of sincerity, why would you, if you would not accept the frozen turkey on Monday or Tuesday or whatever, why would you make someone else do it? That's what I mean by the lack of care, right? About the lack of care. I remember when I used to do gift giveaways and things like that, when I was younger and when I grew up, my mother was very big on putting gifts in wrapping paper, like wrapping gifts up. And I would be like, why we got to do all that? Because that was how we got our gifts. There's an element of surprise, right? To open up a gift in wrapping paper for Christmas. It means something. And so it is a thing where you got to put things in wrapping paper, right? You got to gift things. And when we was going to these shelters and spaces where we gave out toys, first of all, good quality toys. We did not play that. You wrap it up in a gift with a bow because that was also part of the element of surprise. I just think we need to return back to a level of humanity here in this season of giving. There's a lot of stunt queens that just want to take pictures and they just feel like, well, people can just get what they get. No. Do this shit with care because people know the difference. Wrap those gifts up. Wrap the gifts up. Give people the turkeys so they can thaw on time. Give people, regardless of their financial circumstances, the level of care, respect, and dignity. That's the word, dignity. And that's why sometimes I get a little annoyed because I do a lot of service work and I don't brag about it. You're not going to see pictures. You're not, sometimes if it's a collective activity, we might put some pictures up and stuff. But I always, listen, I do a lot of work that is seen and unseen. And I think that so much is important that everything does not become a photo shoot. I just feel like if I was in a circumstance where if I was in need, you never know, right? And I was in a position where I needed to get a hot meal, I wouldn't necessarily want a camera all over me getting the food. It's not my thing. And so if you ever see me do pictures, oftentimes, it will be with the volunteers, but it will not be with the people in need of food. So if you're going out to a food kitchen, y'all, and it's just me because this is Ask Ernest, y'all was asking about my thoughts about it. If you go to a food kitchen, y'all, this Thanksgiving or this holiday season, do not take a picture of yourself serving people in need. Take the group picture of the volunteers. We believe you, but give them people some dignity. Give them people some respect. That's all I say. It has been a rule of thumb for me. If you ever see me do a food distribution, because I've done some service projects, it's always going to be you. You'll see me there. I'll be there. I'll take a picture with the staff or with the team, but you'll never see me take any pictures giving the people in need food. I just don't think there's a level of dignity. Like individuals, at the end of the day, is it about you or them? Is it about them eating? Does that matter? But I just want us to restore some level of dignity. I think we need to restore a level of respect for everybody, right? And that's something that matters to me. When I was at Penn, I used to volunteer at the Hillel. They do a soup kitchen. And when we was there, we talked a lot about the dignity of those people in financial insecurity or burden. It's not about them in the way in which you taking pictures and just it's never that. They want to eat. Let them eat. Period. I just don't like when I see people with their Instagram phone, like doing them crowd shots of them, all the people in line and all that. Like, these are people that's dealing with food insecurity. Thank you for helping them. I can name you without showing pictures. I drive by, I see the work. Do the work. This weekend, there were several of my fraternity brothers that was out in the community, doing the turkey distributions on Saturday. You're not going to see me in a picture. I'll be with my frat, but you're not going to see me out here giving out these turkeys to all these people. I just don't need that. I just think that it's a little bit like, I don't know. It's just how I just feel like there's a lot of reasons why there are people who don't seek help and resources, because I think that they do feel a level of exploitation in it. And over the years, I've covered these issues on various ways. And I'll never forget, it was like 10 years ago, I was at Metro. And I was covering a shelter. And there was a woman who I was talking to. I was just interviewing her. And I was just asking her, like, how did you feel about the food distribution thing? She was somebody who had food insecurity, and I was interviewing her for the story. I didn't use her last name or whatever. But one thing that she said to me was, she said, I really like, I'm very happy that people are, helping us and things, but it would just be nice if I didn't have the camera all in my face. And I said, you know what? I appreciate that. Like, I just really heard her. And I was like, just listening to her. And she says, it's a lot. I got a lot of friends who, she was just saying to me that there was a lot of friends that she knew that didn't want to go and get things because they just didn't want to deal. And I said, well, are you worried about their, she said, a lot of them might even starve. Some of them might not even, or they'll just wait till the last minute to get something at the last minute, or they wait later when the camera's not around. So they'll come like later in the day. She wanted to go early to get her food because she thought that there were going to be certain things that were going to run out. And, I forget what she said. She's like saying that certain stuff, like the good stuff, like the name brand canned goods or whatever, they will run out. And so she likes to be early because she wants to get all her things. But she was saying that a lot of folks that she also know in the space that she's in, they don't go early because that's when the cameras come out and they don't want the cameras on them. And so they'll come a little bit later. So there are people that deal with food insecurity and shame. And a lot of that shame is brought about because of the way in which these cameras and these media people exploit, but also a lot of these folks is doing the food distributions. People need the food, so they got to make a decision on whether they got to choose to be hungry or be exploited. But it's just like, why does it have to be this tacky? I don't know. I just think there's a better way to do these things. I mean, I understand there's some need to have cameras and some things, but like, we don't have to be so exploitative in this community service, because if it's about serving the community, where's the respect? I'm interested in community service, but I'm also interested in community dignity, community care, community respect. And so I think I might need to say this beyond the podcast, because my nosy listeners are the ones who don't actually listen to this stuff right here, right? My noisy listeners do, but my nosy ones don't. So I might actually say something about this elsewhere, because I do feel like this is tugging at my heart, because I think about a lot of times this season when I get a little annoyed with some of the stuff that I see, and people just think I'm just being shady or being whatever, but I'm actually coming from a legitimate place of care and concern, because I've grown up, giving to people who are dealing with financial insecurity. This is something I've done my entire life, and I just have grown up a certain way of how to do it. And when I come down here from the South and come to the East Coast, I'm not even going to make it an East Coast South thing, but I just think some people do it in a way that I just feel like is very self-serving and inconsiderate. And so we got to just be a little bit more mindful. So if you are going to go out here this season to give out toys, give out food, do things, just, take that in mind. Take that in mind. Just keep that in consideration. These are still people. They're humans like us, and they deserve a level of humanity, dignity, self-respect, and agency. And if you are giving out food to promote yourself more than you are to address the actual real causes that need to be done, then you need to take a look in the mirror at your values and your priorities. And maybe, just write the check. How about that? Just write the check. Cut the check. Cut the check. Donate to a pantry that's doing it right. Feel abundance, groups like that, Broad Street Love, places like that. So That's my thoughts. So, movies this week. I'm just going to talk about Wicked for good. It's come out. A lot of you all have seen it. It was a box office smash. It made $150 million in the box office, the second largest box office opening under the Minecraft movie. It beat Lilo and Stitch for the number 2 spot, but it's also the biggest. Wicked is now the biggest Broadway to film adaptation ever, as far as opening. Wicked is smashing all records. It proves that people actually will go see a musical on Broadway. I told in the films, y'all was acting like nobody wanted to see musical films and musical movies. No, people do if the movie is marketed right, if you get the right, Broadway adaptations. I don't think every single musical should be a film adaptation. I think that they need to stick with the films that people want to see. I think Book of Mormon as a film adaptation might be interesting. It's a little controversial, but like, let's do the box office smash musicals before we try to do some of these other ones that people don't know that well or are not as interested in, right? Like, I wonder if Hadestown as a film adaptation might be interesting. I don't know. But like, Book of Mormon, I think, has enough universal appeal that could be an interesting film adaptation to do. I think about Chicago. That was a really good film adaptation. But the critics have been giving mixed reviews around this movie, the second part of Wicked. For starters, it's not a sequel. It is basically Act 2 with some new music. I already told you why I loved it. And I went to go see it again with Mr. Johnson at the theaters and just love that ending. That ending, baby. Oh, it is good. It is a tearjerker. It is all that in a bag of chips. We don't really care about what the critics say here. I don't know why the critics are panning it so much, but it reminds me of the fact that the critics, panned the original Wicked. You know that the original Wicked, when it came to Broadway with, Idina Menzel and Kristen Chenoweth, you all know that it was panned by the critics. Like, it was like the critics were not feeling it. They were very critical of it. They were not fans of it, even though it has gone on to be one of the longest running Broadway musicals of all time, over 20 years on Broadway. Still running, still doing shows, still packing out theater seats. Like, Wicked is like one of those destination New York City Broadway musicals. Like, when you go, I think the only one that beats it is Chicago and The Lion King. I would say The Lion King is the number one Broadway musical that everybody go see. But listen, The Lion King, that brand, man, that IP is unstoppable. But people go to, when they say Broadway, when people say I want to go to Broadway to see a musical, most people, the first place they're going to go see is The Lion King. I will say Chicago, and then I will say Wicked. Hamilton as well. Let me not see. Let me get my rankings up. Let me take it back. Lion King is number 1. Hamilton number 2. Chicago number 3. Wicked number 4. And then number 5, Phantom is gone. We don't got Phantom the Opera anymore. Mamma Mia is gone right now. Probably Book of Mormon. I would say probably Book of Mormon. I would say Book of Mormon might be there. Maybe Hadestown. Nah, not Hadestown. I would probably say Book of Mormon. Maybe Aladdin. A lot of people love Aladdin. People will go out and see Aladdin on Broadway. They still love that. But I would say the guaranteed ones for sure. The big 4, the core 4. Definitely Lion King, Hamilton, Chicago, Wicked, and then you can switch out who's in that 5, that 5th slot. That 5th slot could either go to Book of Mormon, Hadestown, Aladdin, any of the other ones, I would say. Moulin Rouge. Any other ones, you can alternate between them for that 5th slot. But them top 4, that core 4, those are unshakables. Those are the unshakables. No matter what time it is, what season it is on Broadway, there's always going to be The Lion King. There's always going to be Hamilton. There's always going to be Chicago, and there's always going to be Wicked. Those are the big four. Damn, I wish Phantom Opera didn't leave, because it would have been Phantom Opera. I would put that in the fifth slot, but now they're no longer running right now. Mamma Mia used to be up there too, so. But the fifth slot is open for interpretation. But them core four. But yeah, Wicked is still here, doing great, even though it had those reviews back in the day. But it's one of the most popular Broadway musicals of all time. I think that the critics just don't get for good. That is fine. But the fans know what's up. And those who actually saw the Broadway show know how good this is. So the critics love it. It got an A score from viewers of the movie. I loved it. I thought it was good. People are comparing it from the first one. I don't think that's a fair comparison, because I always tell people with Broadway musicals, the first act is always going to be more livelier to keep you up and going. And then the second act always, gets a little bit deeper and gets into the conclusion. And so this second act is a lot more darker and deeper. But I think that is also because of the fact that there is an important conclusion. Like, it is the second act of the Wicked musical is deeper and darker, and it's meant to be. And I love that there's a tone shift in it. And then also the timing was perfect, right? Because of what we are dealing with right now, I think that was a good tone to set for this musical. Like, I don't know. I loved it. I really did. I thought the characters were really fleshed out more. The vocals were vocaling. The musical acts were really strong. I mean, Ariana Grande is a star. She's a star. Great actress. She's a good actress. She's good in this role. And honestly, if I was to vote today, yeah, I would vote for her for Best Supporting Actress. I would. Easily. I think Cynthia Erivo, I wouldn't vote for her for Best Actress right now. I would vote for Buckley for Hamnet. Y'all gonna see that film. Is really good. But she definitely deserves to be in the fifth slot for Best Actress, though. She deserves the nomination, which she would make history as the first Black actress to get 3 Best Actress nominations. 3. For Harriet, for Wicked, Part 1, and for Wicked for Good. If she gets this 3rd nomination for Best Lead Actress, she'll make history. Now, we still got to give it up for my queen, Viola Davis. She remains the most nominated Black actress. And this is for actresses. Now, actor, listen, our beloved Denzel Washington is the most nominated Black actor of all time. Yeah, so Denzel has 10 Academy Award nominations, 9 for acting roles. One was for a producer credit, I believe, for Fences, which he was the producer of. But, he's the GOAT, right? But Viola Davis has the most acting nominations as an actress for acting roles. She has 4. 2 for Best Lead Actress, which was the Ma Rainey's Black Bottom, and also The Help. And then she won the Academy Award for Best Supporting Actress for Fences. And she got a nomination. Her first Oscar nomination for a supporting role was in Doubt. So she currently has the most acting nominations for an actress. Another person who has several nominations that people sleep on is Octavia Spencer. She won her first Oscar for Best Supporting Actress in The Help alongside Viola Davis, but she also been nominated for an Oscar only in supporting roles, no lead, which is very interesting. Best Supporting Actress nomination for Hidden Figures and also for The Shape of Water. So she's had an interesting career as well. She's not in that many films nowadays, which is disappointing, because she definitely is a very good actress and should get more more work there, but we're going to see. So yeah, it's a lot to unpack and to dive into, but yeah, she's doing some great work. But again, Cynthia Erivo, she might break a record if she gets this nomination. I think it's warranted. I think that she was really good and for good. It would be nice to see her get nominated. The performance is really good, very strong. Both her and Ariana Grande were. And what I noticed is that even though the critics, wanted to critique the movie, no one was really denying the acting in the performances by Grande and Arrivo. So, I mean, that's good news. I don't know if it's going to get as much Oscar love. The costumes were phenomenal, too. I definitely think they can get an Oscar nomination for costume and production. There'll be like tech categories potentially. So, we'll see. But I really did like the film overall and definitely think it is worth the views. I wanted to watch it this weekend because I know Thanksgiving next week. Everybody's going to be going to the movies for Thanksgiving break. So it's going to be a lot of it. And then Zootopia 2 is coming out, which I'm excited to see what's going on there because the first Zootopia was really deep and really good. And it was a really good allegory. So, about racism, discrimination, and all that. Zootopia was really deep. A lot of people slept on Zootopia. And it got an Academy Award for Best Animated Feature. There were people who did watch it. But I feel like amongst a lot of Disney films that's come out in the recent era, all this Frozen shit, all y'all love this Frozen stuff. Zootopia, people don't pay attention to that. I know y'all like Moana and all that, but go watch Zootopia. Watch it now. If you haven't seen it, go watch it on Disney+. It is very deep. I love what they were doing with it. I love it. I don't know if the second one's going to carry that same energy, but that first one, gold. Definitely a really good Disney film in the modern era. So, there's that. Want to talk about music quickly. Beyonce has been making a lot of public appearances. Okay? She's been showing up and showing out. As some people say, thicker than a snicker. Thickance is upon us. But people are saying, does this mean that we're going to get music? I don't know. I really don't. I do not follow the Carters around. But I have noticed that she's been out and about, and it looks like she's giving us some clues, some hints. I'm not even going to get into the rumors about when the album's going to drop. Nobody knows. Beyonce works her own calendar. I wish people stop acting like they got they got a horoscope or something. Y'all don't know when she's going to drop her shit. What I will say is I sense it's going to be sooner rather than later because she's a capitalist. And every time this woman is going to pop up, she got something to sell. I just hope this time she's selling that new album rather than trying to sell us other things. Not that her other products are not that good, but I'll never forget many, many years ago, Good Morning America, she made this announcement that she had a big old announcement to make on Good Morning America. And I was like, oh, shit. But I have found that GMA announcements from celebrities are always an opportunity for them to promote something other than the thing you think they're going to promote. That's been the trick. The last person that really gave us a real GMA surprise was Britney Spears when she dropped the Hold It Against Me performance, the Hold It Against Me music video. And so, Britney did that. That was over 10 years ago, okay? So some of y'all may not remember that, but real Britney fans know, okay? When Britney was on GMA and Good Morning America, she was really here to drop some new music, some new videos, some visuals. These girls nowadays, okay, Beyonce was using to promote some new vegan line. Basically, she told us that we was fat and we need to eat vegan. That's pretty much what she was saying. Other people, Taylor Swift just did a GMA surprise. Oh, look, another Disney Plus special on her concert for the Eras because she won't grow up and let it go. Got you. Another Eras tour. Can we finally wrap this shit up, girl? I thought that was a year ago. She still want to hold on. I get it, because that was the last time she made some good music. Because this new album, let's not even. But at this point, I just need the music, and I'm just having a moment here. But the hive is hiving. Outside of that, there's a new artist that I'm starting to feel, y'all. I like new music, new artists. And I want to be clear about something because y'all been making some interesting comparisons about this woman, and I need to get y'all together. So let's talk about Olivia Dean, okay? Grammy-nominated artist, new artist, got a new hot song out, doing some really good music. She sounds really good. She's beautiful. She's beautiful, and she's black. And I need to get y'all together on this because y'all been comparing her to Amy Winehouse. saying, oh, she's trying to sound soulful like Amy Winehouse. First of all, Black women, Black musicians create soul. I find it very offensive that you're comparing a Black woman's soul, because Olivia Dean is a Black woman. You're comparing a Black woman's R&B soul and roots to a white woman who was talented, okay? Rest in paradise, Amy Winehouse. But to compare it to her, pause. Total pause. Like, stop. Like, this would almost be like saying, oh, Beyonce, she trying to sound like Celine Dion. Excuse me? In what way? Oh, because Celine Dion got a little bit of rhythm and soul and flow, and I feel like, Beyonce trying to copy, Celine Dion's, soul. What? What? Or it's like, well, let me pause. Comparing Ariana Grande to Mariah Carey. Mariah Carey is a Black woman. Ariana Grande, despite her tans and her phases, is a white woman. I can see you comparing Ariana Grande to Christina Aguilera. Both are two white women who have a small frame and loud vocals. That's the comparison. To compare Olivia Dean, a Black woman with R&B soul and vocals, to a white woman in this genre, that ain't it. So I just need y'all to put some respect on Olivia Dean, respect to Amy Winehouse's legendary work, but let's be mindful about the cultural comparisons and the nuance of that. It's like comparing Michael Jackson to Elvis Presley. You should be comparing him to James Brown. Brother to brother. No other. I'm just saying. The archetype is James Brown. Okay? You would not compare. Let me not go there. It's just, y'all just need to get y'all comparisons right and understand the cultural context behind it, right? The person engaging in cultural appreciation, I won't say appropriation for Amy Winehouse, but it's appreciation, could never be the blueprint for someone actually from the culture. Like, you should never say, oh, Kendrick is trying to compare to Eminem. Not to say they're not the same, but you would not compare Kendrick to Eminem in hip hop. I just want to say that because I'm seeing so many takes online and y'all getting beside yourselves with these comparisons. You could compare Duffy to Amy Winehouse. Hell, you could compare Adele, right? These are British women singing with some soul, right? Duffy, Adele, whatever. But like, I've never forget someone tried to compare Jasmine Sullivan to Adele. I said, what? How? How dare you? What the fuck? Huh? Let's not. Let's not. Let's not do this. Let's not make this a trend. I don't know what kind of colorblind America or world y'all living in with this music shit, but it does not work. It does not work in comparing artists. Olivia Dean is in a space, but that ain't the space. There's other people you can compare to Amy Winehouse out here that's British, that's out here singing these songs. I'm not going to throw out these names, but y'all know there are other artists out here that are British that, are not Black, that's out right now that I think is more close or closer to Amy Winehouse than Olivia Dean. And they're not Black. I'm just saying. For what it's worth. No shade. So, moving on. As far as TV goes, I have been... Well, let me back up real quick. I want to shout Olivia Dean for another thing. She has been speaking out against the Ticketmaster and these ticket sale inflations. I just want to shout that out. For her to be a new artist that's going on tour and beginning to call out these ticket places and this stuff, that is good. Because a lot of new artists are afraid to buck at these institutions very early. And I just want to name the fact that she's doing it as a new artist that is already trying to talk about the inequities. And even though that might actually, I don't say hurt her, but that might cause some barriers for her when it comes to certain industry players, I am proud that she is doing that. And I'm very happy that she's doing that. And I just want to shout her out for that as well. Now, back to TV. I didn't really do too much TV watching this week. I did catch up on Love and Hip Hop Miami. You know, it is one of my guilty trips. I am enjoying, I ain't gonna hold you all, I am enjoying Love Cabin. It is a messy ass show on Zeus Network, but I am enjoying it. There are some very interesting things going on this show and some dynamics. I will not give the show away because I know some of you all might not want this teasers and some of y'all might do. But I will just add that this is the one thing I don't like about these reality shows right now is that some stuff is happening in real time that is happening before we can get to a conclusion on a reality show. Do you know what I'm talking about? Like when you're watching a show in a season of a show and you're like following it, but then there's like a plot twist that's happening in real time. You're like, wait a minute, what's going on? Okay, I'll just say this much because some of y'all have seen it. Ray J is the host of this show, Love Cabin. This Arab girl that he's dating, she's Arabic. He's currently dating her, right? This is his new girlfriend he's been showing off online. Well, the issue is she's a contestant on Love Cabin right now, and she's been hooking up with everybody on the cast, okay? Well, not everybody, but a couple of guys on the show. Ray J's the host of the show right now. And this show, clearly, the season of the show has already been over and done. But I'm kind of like, well, damn, it's obvious that she's not going to win. Or is there going to be a plot twist or something? But it's just very interesting to me because I'm just kind of like, well, how did he end up with her, given the fact that he just saw her on this show trying to find love and now he's dating her? Like, I don't know. I'm a little annoyed because I'm just like, I wish they would have waited to reveal, quote unquote, their relationship to like let the show like ride out. And now it's kind of already playing in our faces. And I'm just kind of like, well, then what happened? And Ray J's the host. He's not a contestant on the show. So it's just kind of like, damn, girl, you was on there to look for love and he ended up dating the host. Like, but Ray J just he cannot keep his paws, his dick, his stuff to himself. He's just always out here. But speaking of which, he was on Love and Hip Hop Miami with Princess Love, which he talking about he missed his ex-wife. I guess he ain't with her now. But Love and Hip Hop Miami's getting spicy because Trick Daddy, the ex-wife he was with, now this is up in flames, right? You know, his ex-wife, apparently it comes out that he was dating her sister. And now the whole show has been sits on this weird love affair between Trick Daddy, his ex-wife, who we still have they're still married, but they're not together romantically. But that and the fact of her sister, it's giving Jerry Springer. But I must say, it has quite been enjoyable to watch. But yeah, that's this week's episode. So what am I looking forward to? I'm looking forward to Thanksgiving. I'm looking forward to a really great, delicious catered dinner with friends and family who will be here. They're going to bring their Tupperware. I'm looking forward to New York City this weekend. Going to a really great play that I will tell you all more about in my review. Going to some really nice restaurants. Of course, 11 Madison Park. Another restaurant which I can't wait to review and tell you all about as well in New York City. But yeah, I'm excited. I'm happy that the school year is about to wrap up. Next Monday, not this Monday, but next Monday will be my final course that I'm teaching for the rest of the semester. So this is the final trenches for my students. Like, this is our last like big week before we come back, and it'll be December, and it'll be the last day of class before they have their finals and everything else. So this is an interesting time for me. Like, I'm gonna have a whole like great old month of vacation before I start my spring semester. So yeah, I got a nice little teaching break in between. I mean, as far as the journalism go, that's nonstop. But this was a really good semester. This is my first semester teaching 4 courses. Got some good money though. Shoot, the money was money. Listen, I ain't complaining. But it was very intense teaching 4 courses. But the students were great. Overall, there was a couple of ones that was playing around a little bit, but for the most part, they're going to finish strong. I'm looking forward to this last full week of teaching before, the winter break. Looking forward to the holiday parties coming up. Are you going to see me at a holiday party? Let's find out. But I'm definitely going to some holiday parties in December. I'm looking forward to Thanksgiving. Looking forward to this good ass food. Looking forward to all of it. I'm thankful. If I would say one thing I'm thankful for, I am thankful for you all. I'm thankful for you listeners. That is what I'm thankful for. I'm thankful for you all. I'm thankful to be in good health. I'm thankful that I'm looking finer than I've been in years. I'm looking forward to being in, good wealth, good health. I'm very grateful for my real friends, which are all of my friends. All of my friends are real. Yeah, I got rid of all the fake ones this year. But no, I got a lot of great real friends and genuine friends. I'm very grateful for them. I'm grateful for my family. I'm grateful for my students. I'm thankful for my students. I'm thankful to have my sanity at a time where a lot of people are just losing grip. And I'm just grateful that I'm fully there. Because when I'm seeing people like Nicki Minaj, lose. See, I wasn't supposed to be. Okay. I'm just grateful and thankful for all of you all for listening. And I wish you all a very great Thanksgiving. And listen, before y'all get all woke and all this stuff about the colonizers, Black people do not celebrate Thanksgiving based on that shit. We just get together to eat food and be grateful that we're alive and in good spirits and enjoying some good food and some good family. We don't know all that other shit about the settlers and all that. We don't do it for all that because we don't even eat that nasty shit that they be having at the table. I am just saying. So when a Black person tells you Happy Thanksgiving, we're not talking about the pilgrims and all that. We are talking about the meaning of Thanksgiving, which is to be thankful. That is what we're celebrating. We're not celebrating cornucopias and all that other shit. We don't support that, okay? Fuck those settlers, those pilgrims, and all them people that killed those innocent indigenous people. We don't support them people, okay? I just want to say that before I wrap up, because a lot of y'all like, there y'all go. We are thankful for each other. We are thankful for our freedom. We are thankful for good-ass food. We're thankful for seasoned turkeys. We're thankful for thawed-out turkeys that are properly thawed out. We're thankful for dressing. And some of y'all can be thankful for stuffing. I'm thankful for dressing. There's a difference. I am thankful for some good cranberry sauce. The ones in the can that is refrigerated and I can slice and put on it. I know y'all like to make y'all little chutneys and shit. That's fine. But I am thankful for Ocean Spray cranberry sauce. I'm thankful for my press badge that I got. Okay, 10 years. I'm thankful for that. I'm thankful for people that are competent and know how to do their job. I'm going to leave it there. We're going to leave this on a good, positive, non-petty note. I'm thankful for people that show up on time to class. I'm thankful for a lot of people. I am. I'm thankful for DEI and those who still keep it. See, there I go. Well, as always, be well. Ernestly Speaking is recorded in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, and can be found on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts. To stay up to date with the latest on the show, follow me on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at Mr. Ernest Owens. Use the hashtag Ernestly Speaking to tell me what you thought about this episode, and check out my website at ernestowens.com.